So a little disclaimer before we get into this podcast. This podcast contains adult themes, naughty language, all of the above. So I thought I'd let you know now in case you are younger and you don't want to hear language such as that. But there was just far too much of it to edit it all out. But hopefully you enjoy. And one last thing I want to say before we get into this podcast. Project Vice was supposed to join me on this podcast as usual. Unfortunately, just because of the way the clocks changed, time differences and all of that stuff, he wasn't able to join. So if you could do me a massive favour and go and drop him a subscribe, it'd be massively appreciated. I know he's gutted that he couldn't be here, and I'm gutted that he couldn't be here either. So yeah, I just wanted to give him some love because I feel bad for taking the podcast without him, but we still had to get it done. Hi guys, welcome back to this episode of the podcast. Now in today's podcast, we are joined by the amazing FIZHY.
I'm not sure if amazing is the word I would use, but hello everyone. It is indeed me. I have come to the podcast to talk about whatever you talk about on a podcast these days. Doesn't everybody have a podcast?
Everyone and his dog has a podcast.
Everyone and his mum had a podcast. I had one before it was cool, and then it became cool, and I stopped doing them.
Honestly, the amount of people in lockdown, I was like, oh, what are you doing these days? And they're all, like, I've got mates that are builders that started podcasts. I'm like, what?
They're just there talking about how they build houses on podcast. Yeah, it changed my life, this podcasting business. Before, I used to just be an ordinary brickie. Now I'm a brickie with a podcast. Life is good. Yeah, and they're just talking about the same things as every other podcast under the sun, which is usually controversial. So
and it's always controversial. Or the cost of bricks has gone up these days. It costs a lot to build a house now.
Yeah, that's usually in the middle, and then they find a way to blame the immigrants, and it just keeps going. But I like podcasts that are about like a more topical thing, like say gaming podcasts. It could be quite fun to listen to people talk about their opinions on certain matters in a less inherently vicious place than the real world. And I also like I don't listen to many podcasts, I will admit, but I also like when people sort of go off and do something a little bit more original than blaming the left or right wing for social problems and calling it a day, 100%. Which is basically the bulk of podcasts.
So that's literally what podcasts are. They're like, for the most part, the more divisive the opinion, the better the podcast does.
Controversy is king, like. And that's something I've noticed. It's an internet thing rather than a podcast thing, though. Like Twitter, Twitter, well, X.com now or whatever Elon Musk wants. I know. It sounds like a porn site, no matter how many times. You say X is just a social media platform. It's like, no, Twitter was the social media platform. This is the bastardized variant. Yeah. But no, opinions and things like that, it seems the internet is very much so manoeuvred into, you either have to hold an extreme opinion, or you're not going to be giving your opinions on the internet, are you?
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to listen, because it's just a nuts place.
Yeah, it's like, I did, like recently I've done, obviously, you've seen them, some of the more critical commentary videos, and like those videos, I've literally said, well, there's actually both sides to it, I believe this, but I also believe this. We can be balanced. And people just don't know what to do with that. They're like, well, don't you think this? And I'm like, no. Like, you can sit in the middle of two opinions. There is no right, wrong, or left and right.
You can be on a fence about a few things. It's also sometimes you don't need to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Like this strange thing with the internet, especially with social media, is this idea that everybody everywhere needs to have an opinion on every issue ever.
Yeah.
And that to me just sounds like a terrible idea. First and foremost, having an opinion on everything cannot be good for your mental well-being. Secondly, some things just aren't your problem.
Yep, 100%. It's like a lot of people have asked me, because obviously I've done a few videos weighing in on things that I do care about, and then people have come to me with separate, like...
Whataboutism,
yeah, what about this? What about that? I'm like, I don't watch that, so I don't have an opinion. And they're like, but you said this, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, that's not the battle I've chosen, first and foremost. Secondly, I don't know enough about that to make an educated comment.
Exactly. That's the thing as well.
I don't need to be omnipotent to have an opinion.
Well, a lot of people forget as well that because we're on YouTube, it's not the case of having an opinion. We need to be 1000% sure in our convictions before we put it on the internet. So when someone asks you on like a live stream what you think about this, you're like, well, I can't just look at it and come to a conclusion. I have to look at it, think about it, decide if I'm going to risk putting that in the video, then post it.
And sometimes I get opinions. I get people asking me opinions on things that have nothing to do with anything that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
For example, someone came into my stream yesterday and said, "What do you think about LGBT, etc.?" And I just went, "That's not what I make content to give my opinions on. It's not for me to give my opinions on."
Like, what I thought about, like, there's some beef with Drake or something, and I'm like, I
don't give a shit.
I literally could not care less. If I tried, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, no. Somebody asked me a similar thing. I think it was. There's like, do you listen to this genre of music? And I say, I'm quite fond of it, but I don't know enough about the artists in that genre to give you an opinion on some random beef that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And no, you just have to have an opinion on everything. So podcasts are very popular these days because it's the best place to basically carpet bomb people with your opinions.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think it begs the question as well, like with the gaming community, a lot of people will start making content because they're just interested in gaming, but a lot of the commentary community, I think a lot of the content comes from an ideology where, like, we're not making gaming content because we have an ideology. We're making it because separately from our ideologies, we like video games. And I think when you make your career based off your political opinions, it's a very different sort of audience.
Oh, it's a very fine line.
Yeah.
It's the only place where things get very tetchy. It's like if your internet presence and your career is being built on your opinions, at some point, inevitably, on some topic, you are going to change your mind.
Yep.
And that's when your credibility goes out the window because the nuance of opinion is lost on this very opinionated world we're in.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing as well. Like because there is, like, when it comes to especially like political or otherwise opinions on YouTube, there is no, like, there is a very few creators that are relatively in the middle. But there's a lot of people out there that are extreme in one way or another. So when there's like a sense that maybe they've conceded one of their opinions that maybe one way or the other, the audience will just turn on them.
Yeah, especially when everybody wants to be right.
Yes.
And that's what it boils down to. It's not even a belief in the opinion necessarily. It's, I just want to be correct over you.
Yep.
And I do find that extreme is a very, very, well, it's an extreme word, let's be real, but polarized is certainly the flavour of the day.
Yeah.
I'm burping up beer now. Bloody hell.
Me too. I've literally had to, like, burp into my hoodie like twice.
Oh god, yeah, no, this is difficult. Jesus, alcohol and podcasts with,
especially if you've just eaten a Chinese as well.
Yeah, it was a little bit spicy Chinese. It wasn't hugely spicy, so I'm not at risk of losing my bowels into the toilet or anything like that. But yeah, it's been a combination, I can tell you that. The acidity in my body is through the roof, and the biome in my stomach is probably radioactive. So, but we're doing okay. And I'll say that because it's not exactly... You get a lot of dodgy takeaways around here.
Yeah.
And although they're dodgy, they do nice food. I'm not sure if this is one of them. I think this is one of the better ones.
Yeah, I had that the other day. Like, I finished editing a video at like 3 a.m. and I wanted to order some food. So I was like, you know what? I'll just order wherever is open. And I ordered from somewhere, and fuck me, I felt it.
Oh yeah, no, it's when you don't expect it. It's this. I think it's partially. I think having the shits after eating something unhealthy is partially psychological.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is purely because it was really, really bad for you. And it's all those.
You know, it's bad when even your body goes, I can't process this.
When your body goes, this is goo. You know?
Yeah. This should never have gone in.
Yeah, this has to go. We are expunging this data, and that's what it does.
This brings me on to like the first main point.
Oh,
why did you start YouTube?
It kind of happened by accident. So I was in school when I created the YouTube account on the 1st of April 2013, which means that I started this channel 11 years ago on April Fool's Day. So I've officially got the longest running April Fool's joke.
You started this before GTA 5 came out?
Just. But I wasn't too into Rockstar games at the time. I think I'd only just played Red Dead Redemption at that point, and I loved it, but I was never massive into, say, GTA or anything, and that was more or less a consistent theme until fairly recently, really.
Yeah.
I've gone through generations with my YouTube channel. My first obsession was Assassin's Creed. Now, that was never going to end well because Ubisoft. So when I'd moved past that, and I was sort of going, right, I don't really care about this franchise anymore. Red Dead Redemption 2 had come along, and that's where I started making the videos that a lot of people, I suppose, know me for, and that was fun. That was a really fun ride, but there's no why I started. Like, I just kind of did, and then by some miracle, I'm still here. I've developed tenure. I think the less you intend to do something, the more likely it is to happen with YouTube. And that's because if you commit to it from go as like a business, you're going to burn out. But if you sort of go, yeah, this is fun, I've got nothing better to do, let's do this, it just keeps going, you know? And then eventually you go, right, okay, maybe I should treat it like a business, but I shouldn't change anything I'm actually doing. And it's like, so we can still treat it as fun then, yeah? Yeah, and that's what we do. And that's how I've operated.
I find that quite interesting, because for me, I think because I've, like, obviously I've been working with creators for years, but like, because I've made my channel my career at 26 years old, I feel like I put myself in a position where I've had to go straight into it from day one, treating it as a business, because,
well, yeah,
like,
there's no harm in, you know, treating it as a business when it de facto is.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is I was very lucky because I started when I didn't need to.
Yeah.
And I grew the channel when I didn't need to. And then when I got to a point where I could make money from it, I was ahead of the curve as far as where you'd expect somebody at my age at the time to be at in their lives. And that felt good, and I really enjoyed what I was doing, so I kept doing it. And then, obviously, there have been some slumps, and there have been some bits where, you know, the income that came from it has been really good. But the one thing that I try to keep consistent with is the fact that I enjoy the content I make.
Yeah.
With time comes experience. I know what would probably get me a lot more views, but it also sacrifices the integrity of having something to actually say. And that's sort of where I draw the line.
The thing is, you can tell that with your content as well, though, because, like, obviously, if you plot your view history on a graph, it's in waves. But the thing is even at the bottom of those view figures, you're still making good quality content, and that's very clear because you're enjoying it. Like, like, I know, you know for a fact that you could drop a video right now with some horrendously clickbait title and potentially pull in guaranteed 500,000 views, if not more. But
yeah, quite possibly.
But you don't do it because it comes from the point of that's not the video you want to make. And that's a level of integrity that a lot of people can learn from, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people naturally have it, though. I think it's a very select few people who don't possess it, and those are the ones that actually wind up doing that sort of content. And maybe they do possess integrity, but I'm not them. They're not me. We have different priorities in life. It's, you know, they might treat doing YouTube as not necessarily a form of expression or a form of art, but rather just a money churner, and whatever, maybe their life necessitates that.
Yeah.
So I won't judge them, but yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people go into YouTube with the idea they want to create, and I think if you're going in with the idea you want to create, you can't throw yourself into that world of clickbait. And well, clickbait's fine, it's misleading content that bothers me.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to get confused with clickbait and misleading content, because clickbait is derived from enticing thumbnails and titles, but what it's ended up becoming is enticing thumbnails and titles, but content that doesn't match that.
Yeah, for sure. I've played it loose with titles and thumbnails before. Sometimes it works, provided the video encompasses what the title means.
Yeah.
And I've also done a lot of rework on some titles because it maybe divulges too much on what the video goes into.
Yeah.
And what I have noticed a lot is, yeah, you could easily cheese the system and come out with something. There is a science to it. It's not all luck when you see a big channel. It's mostly luck. But if you've got a bit of skill, you can luck the rest quite reliably if you're willing to sacrifice your firstborn child. And that's sort of a recurring theme that I've noticed with a lot of channels that explode out of nowhere. Some of them, genuinely amazing, intuitive content that nobody else thought to do. Those are the channels that absolutely deserve skyrocketing to the top. People who can be original, creative, and express their ideas in a way that nobody else can, will always have room to grow, because the market on YouTube for content that is expressive, like actually expressive, is underserved when compared to the market of creators homogenizing and doing the same thing.
Yeah, and this is something that so I started my channel. Obviously, we're not talking in the scale of years here. We're talking in the scale of months. But I started my channel end of October, and the one thing I noticed after my first proper month of doing it is that my videos looked a lot like everyone else making GTA news content, and that's where the whole camera came in, and the whole idea of, okay, well, I need a setup, I need an aesthetic, I need the mask, I need the glasses.
You need something that defines you, something that sets you apart. Yeah, it's something you notice quite early. And it's something that I actually see a lot of my growth, because I'd grown quite a fair bit doing Assassin's Creed content. I had like 70,000 subscribers come 2018. I was really chuffing myself at the time. Probably had a bit of an ego too, a bit of an arsehole. I don't know. I try not to be, but you never know. When you're in it, it's hard to look at it. When you're in it, it's hard to reflect. But I reflect now and go, compared to then, I like myself more now. But yeah, I was happy with that. And Red Dead 2 came along, and I found something really cool in the world, and I liked how the environment and everything around drew me to this mystery. I think it was the serial killer guy.
Yes.
The 3 bodies about, and they're not in a very good condition. They're a bit unwell. They've been dismembered beyond belief. And there was like a sort of taunting message with it. And I thought to myself, oh, blimey, that's really interesting. But the thing that I liked more than the actual mystery itself was how the world told the story. Yeah. And I went, what if I made a bit of content where I go through the story in a way that I feel the story wants to be told, rather than just a guide? And I'll tell you why I went that way. Because it's a bit of a rat race when a game comes out, and everyone rushes on the YouTube front to make the content to make sure that people, when they look up a guide to do a certain thing, chances are it'll be their video they watch. Problem is, all of the content drops day one, and you have to do everything in a really short time frame to stand a chance. If you do a guide on one thing, you might be the first to that, but you won't be the first to everything else. So you've got to set yourself apart somehow. Otherwise, you're just gambling on one video carrying you, and the other's not doing as well, or potentially not doing as well. Of course, there's a bit of leeway, a little bit of give and take, but for the most part, it's going to fizz out unless you do something that people go, I want to watch that video because I know that video offers something the rest don't, or the rest might not.
That's something else as well, that like you can tell that the way you make content at the moment, like, obviously this is me objectively looking at your videos from the outside, but the emphasis is always on the point of the video should never, like, the storytelling should never get in the way of the point of the video. So like your storytelling is structured in a way that it's easy for people to consume, but the point of the video is still prevalent throughout the whole way through. Like, you can give 75% of the video just as context, and people will still wait the whole way through because the way you deliver that context is story driven.
Yeah, and sometimes it is an exposition dump. Yes. Like the Epsilon program video is a huge exposition dump, basically, for the most part. It's an hour and 13 minutes long. The first 20 minutes of that, I have to sort of go through all the information that's just words in the game.
Yes.
And yeah, that can be a bit of a slog, and admittedly it is. But because there's a nice bit of music to it, and there's other shots and sort of interjections with dissection, excuse me, I think it does translate into an interesting story, or part of an interesting story, especially when you go off after that and you've got so much more content to get through and burn through. And yeah, I really like doing that content.
I have an interesting perspective on your content, in the sense that I don't watch any of your videos because of the topic matter you choose. I choose to watch the videos because I know that I'm going to be thoroughly entertained with information whilst doing it. Like, this sounds probably really counterintuitive to what we believe as YouTubers, but I do not care about the topic of your video. Maybe the algorithm does, but
yeah, maybe.
But the way that you deliver content, I know that if you're putting a video out, I know it's going to be good quality, it's going to be well researched, and I know that I'm going to get to the end of it feeling like I know more about that particular game, which I feel like...
Or less, but never the same.
Never the same.
It can never be the same. You can't come away thinking, I've got nothing from this.
Yeah.
If you come away from a video going, I know more about that topic now, or you come away from that video going, I know less, I have forgotten things, or things that I thought were the case just aren't, that's where you've actually delivered value. But the point of the video is the journey.
Yes.
I like the journey of it, and I like going through things methodically, and that clearly worked for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
And so over the past 5 going on 6 years, I've done a lot of content on that game. I think it's like 270 videos, something like that. Something a bit absurd on that game. And obviously recently I've expanded into Grand Theft Auto because it's the same Rockstar formula for the most part, just not necessarily as tailored towards the aspect that I like the most. But Rockstar clearly will carry that over because it was so popular.
See, what I'm very interested in exploring in the future is, so for example, with Grand Theft Auto 6, obviously, the reason why your storytelling is so good is because obviously you know what you're doing, but also Rockstar Games...
Do I? Do I? That's news to me.
But like Rockstar Games give you a tool set, give you a thing to comment on, to talk about, to investigate. And I'm so excited to see with GTA 6 what, for example, things like the Bermuda Triangle, whatever they decide to maybe potentially include.
I hope there's like a Florida skunk ape thing.
Yes, that would be sick.
But name it something else because it's not Florida, it's Leonida.
Leonida or whatever it is. But
Leonida, I think, is probably... it's not going to be Leonida because that just doesn't roll. But like a skunk ape or something like that, they'll probably think of a different benign animal before the word ape.
I'm just hoping that they... Like, because I'm very aware that like Rockstar are making this game to be the most commercially viable game possible, and maybe some of the lore and mythology within the games might be lost on a large part of the audience. Hopefully it's not, and there's definitely huge communities for it. But I'm hoping that they still give it the same attention to detail like they did in Red Dead Redemption, GTA 5, for example.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember that the deeper lore of any game ever is lost on a large quantity of the audience. It doesn't matter what game it is or how interesting it is in a story sense or how fun the gameplay is. A lot of the lore behind it is lost on a lot of players. And you can't tell who those players are. So there's a lot of games where the lore is completely lost on me, for example, where I go, oh, it's a fun game, I like it, but I don't really care for the lore. It's what clicks with you versus what doesn't.
What do you think is the defining factor that makes people click with a game to want to investigate further? What do you think is that thing that makes people want to look further? Because Rockstar nail it when they implement whatever that thing is. What do you think it is?
Because their environment draws you to it. So there's nothing. It doesn't matter what's going on. You're just glad there's something is, and you're also glad that you're piecing it together. And the less your hand is being held, and the more you can piece it together yourself, the more satisfying it becomes. You see, Rockstar does this thing where they don't really use that as a substitute for content. They use it as an accenting for the world. Yeah. Whereas, so this is the world, there's no content behind it. It's just purely things you can deduce and documents you can read and clues you can put together effectively. And that's a little bit more, I think, intuitive for this sort of storytelling versus a side mission in which there's something on rails happening or something that's largely guided occurring, where it's not as interesting because you're going to get the answers. You don't know where the story stops.
Yeah. I think
that's
also
where the myth
well,
community comes into it.
Like, for example, I saw your video on the Mount Chiliad mystery, which, by the way, was beautifully executed. I feel like the fact that we have answers, but at the same time, a lot of those answers are still open to interpretation is what makes it so beautiful. Because
it's a
opinions
massive
matter.
Exercise in red herrings.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, there's so many things that could be the answer to it. And there's so many things that could also be absolutely nothing. And that's why it has essentially grown into such a big thing. Because if you could find the answer out by just completing the game, we wouldn't
Yeah,
even be
there's no
talking
point.
about it.
Yeah, I think the conclusion I came to in the video that I did was, it seems as if the answer was, you've completed the game now, fuck off.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, hang on, that doesn't sound like something Rockstar would have put there if they planned the online to be as successful as it indeed has been. But I think they didn't expect that. I think it was purely sort of like a reconciliation with the fact that your story in the story mode is over, and it gives you time to think about how you feel about it, should you crack it. And so I don't think there's necessarily an answer to the mystery. There's an in-world explanation of, obviously there's a UFO above a mountain, but it's got the FIB logo on it, so it's clearly not aliens. And you go through and you go, they're either building flying saucers as a novelty act so they can steal oil, or they're reverse engineering alien technology.
They're trying to find those weapons of mass destruction.
Well, I mean, already got those.
Yeah.
No, obviously, I don't actually know with that one. I think you come away. That's one of those topics you come away with knowing less, but more satisfied in what you now know.
Yeah, like you know less, but you can rule
etc.
some things out. Like you can say, okay, I have more knowledge about the topic, but I'm no closer to the answer, which is fine.
Exactly. I know the mystery largely hinges on a mural. And on that mural, you have various directions you can follow.
Yeah. And
various interpretations of the mural itself, so it's hard to tell what you're actually supposed to be following and whether or not you're supposed to be taking it on a literal sense or a more metaphorical sense. And that's where the biggest divergence occurs.
Or it was just a potluck roulette that they played at Rockstar to what goes on the mural. Either way, we're not getting answers.
I think mostly it's probably a bit of an inside joke. I'd imagine Rockstar probably going, they still haven't figured this out. It's so simple. Somebody knows. Somebody at Rockstar knows what the mystery means. I think.
So I interviewed an employee that still works at Rockstar, but and I did ask stuff about GTA 6, and of course he wouldn't answer. But I did ask him about like the Mount Chiliad mystery. This was actually about a year ago. I asked him, and he said, "Honestly, mate, I have no fucking clue."
Yeah. So what you're saying is the community's run away with it more than anything.
Yeah.
That's
I don't think it was supposed to
goes.
be. It wasn't supposed to be as big as it got.
Yeah, it's just a little Easter egg, apparently. So yeah, that's why I say most of it's red herring. It's because it does appear as if most of this is unrelated. I like that there's a broader mystery that seems to have been pieced together, and you can follow it to a surprising degree.
Yeah.
But I actually don't think there is necessarily an answer outside of you finished the game, how do you feel about it?
Yeah.
And that's really... It's quite... When you look at why I think that, obviously you saw the video.
Yeah.
It does hit you and go, oh, this is me in denial. Yeah, that's kind of the Mount Chiliad mystery. It's just denial.
That's the thing. That video itself was an emotional roller coaster because it was like, oh, hang on, that could. Oh, no. Oh, wait, hang on, that. Oh, no. Wait, what? Hang on, wait, what? No.
Yeah. Meanwhile, throughout the entire video, I'm just like, where's the fucking aliens, man? Where are they coming from?
Mate, I don't envy you for having to make that video because, like, it's so easy to be right and wrong equally as much at the same time.
Well, I'll tell you for a fact, I am more confident in that video being wrong than right. All I know is I interpret the information from my point of view because there is no answer. I'm convinced there is no answer. So I just have to interpret the information as I come across it and run away with it. So it was quite liberating knowing that I don't have a set endpoint. I'm not trying to trigger something really obscure in the game. I'm just taking the information, piecing it with other information that may fit or does indeed seem to line up, but that doesn't mean it absolutely fits.
Yeah.
And then coming to a conclusion of my own. So it's a very nice video to actually work on.
Well, talking about content and channels, like that kind of goes into the next question a little bit. Like, what outside of the content you make, what channels do you watch? Are there any obscure channels in there that are just nothing to do with anything? Or, you know,
oh god, yeah, I'll tell you what. I like that, there are a few YouTube channels that do this, but they're like driving instructors. And there's one that I like. I think he's based in like East Anglia called Conquer Driving. And I find that he just explains stuff basically about driving, and I go, right, okay, I need to work on that. And I've been driving for like 5 years.
I was gonna say, like, I find, like, I'm obviously, you know, I'm a massive petrol head, but I can't watch driving content. It does my head in.
Does it?
Yeah.
What about driving content does your head in?
It's just like, so I did watch a few driving instructors' YouTube channels, and for me, it was like, I think, do you know what it is? I think it's because I'm getting old and bitter, and I don't like the fact that the driving tests have changed over the years.
Ah, yeah, same.
Because on my license, it allows me to tow trailers like as standard, but they've changed that now, so people have to go on a separate course to tow trailers.
Caravans, I think you can still tow a trailer.
Oh yeah, it's caravans, I think.
It's caravans over a certain weight. Yeah. No, I passed just after they'd implemented that.
Oh.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, whatever. I don't even know if the course to get that qualification even exists.
I don't even know.
But, you know, I mean, it's a silly one.
But I passed my test in 2016, and I did my own theory test again online. I did like a little free online theory test, and fuck me, dude, I failed so bad.
What? Why? How many did you get? It's 43 to pass, is it not?
Yeah, it's 40 something. I got like
23, 80%.
I got like 20 something. But the thing is, a lot of the road signs that in my nearly 8 years, whatever it is, 7 years of driving. I passed in 20. Yeah,
never encountered a sign that says ducks.
Oh, actually, I passed my test 8 years and 5 days ago. It was 8 years and 5 days ago, and in all of my years of driving, I've never seen some of the signs that I saw in that theory test, and I'm like, where are these?
Yeah, there are some signs that just don't exist.
Yeah.
I do find signs to be quite amusing, because you can get signs that just have, like, you know, like warning triangles, especially, with anything in the middle, and the most threatening is just a duck.
Have you seen the shit umbrella one?
I haven't seen the shit umbrella one.
Right, so hang on, I'll send it to you on Discord.
Oh, crap umbrella! It's the roadwork sign.
Yeah.
I've got you now. Yeah. No, I see it. Crap umbrella. Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, you know, it's roadworks. You do see this sign everywhere.
Yeah, but now you can't unsee umbrella.
The shit umbrella sign. You can't unsee this man is struggling with an umbrella. Yeah.
Warning, man opening umbrella.
Road, but I think UK road signs are a little bit strange, because there are some road signs that can make themselves redundant with what they say.
Yeah.
For example, I think there's a sign somewhere that says "sign not in use."
Yeah. Well, actually, outside my house at the moment, they're doing roadworks, and there's a sign that says "no through road," but it's got traffic lights, and then when you drive past the traffic lights, you can come out onto a main road. So it is
still a through road.
So I asked the guy when I was leaving the house earlier, I was like, what? It says no through road. And he went, yeah, we don't want people going through. And I was like, that's not what it means. It means it's a dead end.
It means it's a dead end. That's not the case. You're just causing confusion. I mean, to be fair, temporary traffic lights do my head in, especially when the roadworks van is parked in front of the light so you can't see it.
Yeah.
You just... You know, these blokes, they'll hold their hand up, be like, wait there. You'll be sat there for like 10 minutes. You'll be like, right.
And not a single car goes past.
I have waited for as long as is reasonable to be at a set of temporary lights. I've got to go. Because I can't see the light, therefore it doesn't apply.
And the second you do, a car comes the other way.
No, it's not even that. The people working on the road get really angry with you. And it's like, look, I can't see the sign. I've been here for a while. I have to clear the road and get going. Like I can't.
and I'm turtle heading.
I can't rely on. You're not part of the highway code. I can't rely on a bloke at the side of the road to tell me it's good to go. How would you know? I mean, sure, you can see a green temporary light, but you're obstructing it. So I can't rely on that. I can't rely on you to tell me what that says.
It's like
I have to judge based on where I'm sat.
About a month ago, they were doing roadworks outside my house, and my car was still on the drive. And bearing in mind, I didn't have a letter or anything coming through the door. And they were doing works at the end of the driveway. And then it got to 5 o'clock at night, and they just clocked off and left all the barricades and a massive trench outside my house. And I was like, why didn't they just knock on the door before they started to ask me to move my car onto the street?
and ask you if you needed to move your car. Yeah, exactly. I'd have been really annoyed by that.
I had to get so there were some planks of wood like next to like where all the construction stuff was. I had to put them over this trench in the ground and drive a 2-ton car. Well, I think it's about 1.8 tons over.
Still not ideal.
No, over this trench to get out. And the next day when they came back, I was like, "Why didn't you ask me to move?" And he was like, "Oh, we didn't think anyone lived there." And I'm like, "What?
There's a car in the front.
There's a car in the drive."
There's a car there.
And,
like, do you think the car was owned by nobody?
Bear in mind, my lawn and it, like, there's lawn outside the front and back and everything, and it's all neatly mowed. And the house has a sold sign outside the front of it, so they assumed that meant the house was empty. Like,
but there's a car.
There's a car in the drive, and it was a clean car. Hasn't been there for like a while. It's
a clean, modern car. It hasn't been abandoned. It wouldn't even be there were it abandoned, though.
No,
like, it would be in storage or gone.
I mean, you know what car I've got. Like, why would I leave that abandoned?
Yeah, no, nobody's abandoning your car.
No.
Nobody's abandoning that. I mean, it's not a particularly, from my perspective, desirable car.
No, it's not. I don't even want my car.
But it's a very valuable car, even if it's not worth as much as you'd like it to
Shut
be.
up! Stop! It's hurting.
I'm not rinsing your car. Genuinely, it looks like a fun car. I just wouldn't own one.
No, well, I hate the fact I do.
Yeah, but you do, and you don't dislike driving it. It's
I don't dislike driving
it,
but I hate insuring it, putting fuel in it.
Taxing it. Don't get me started on
my road
insurance.
My road tax is £575 a year.
Bloody hell!
Yeah.
I'm so glad you pay that money. Otherwise, you'd be killing the environment. Yeah,
Think of all the trees I'm saving by paying more than most people, even though I drive less than most people.
Yeah, exactly. It's for the privilege of driving on our roads. You need to pay this money because of the emissions.
Well, it's okay though, because I just won't pay my normal taxes. I'm smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, normal taxes are overrated anyway.
Yeah.
You just sort of, and also there's no staff in HMRC, so you could probably get away with some heavy tax evasion right now.
Do you know what? I actually had a letter from HMRC last year, and they basically to say that I need to do my self-assessment. But at the time, I wasn't making any money, so I didn't do a self-assessment. Like, I just said, look, I don't hit the thresholds, and legally, you don't have to do a self-assessment if you don't hit the thresholds. And then they emailed me saying...
The thresholds for paying tax or the threshold for being a sole trader registered?
Thresholds for paying tax, because I was paying myself as a business, but I wasn't paying myself personally. So I did all my business taxes, but I hadn't taken a salary in a year.
Well, damn, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't have to actually declare anything personally. It's fine.
They didn't slap you with a fine immediately.
No,
though,
they
so
said they said that they'll take me off their records, and I haven't heard from them since.
You probably want to re-register because they do eventually find there is enough stuff there that if you are completely disregarding them, they will know. But you can get away with, as a sole trader, the rule book goes out the window, so you can get away with a lot of like tax write-offs, even if they weren't necessarily business expenses. I don't advise doing that all the time, but you can get cheeky with it and sort of play 50-50.
At the time, I wasn't a sole trader though, so I had a registered business, a limited company.
You went through business.
Yeah, I had a limited
company,
but I was an employee.
You paid yourself.
I was an employee.
Yeah, okay, you were an employee of that company, but you didn't take a salary, therefore it wouldn't apply.
Yeah, so I didn't take a salary.
But from the business perspective, you may have to apply it. I don't know with the business front because I work as a sole trader.
Yeah, I'm a sole trader.
So if I get sued, I'm on my own.
Oh, mate, I need to send you what my business name is for YouTube. Obviously, because I like to stay anonymous. You'll find it fucking hilarious. I can't say it on here, obviously, but I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I'm just so tempted to go into your chat and say a bunch of fake names, refer to you by a different name that is not yours.
Yeah, as long as people don't know my name is...
Every single time.
As long as people don't know my name is John.
You jumped into my stream yesterday and you said something and I responded with, of course, Patrick.
Yeah, I said my name's John and you're like, of course, Patrick.
But I can't overdo the joke. The problem is, it's a process of elimination. Eventually, people are going to find out that your name is Gary. I can't have that.
Wait, we need to do this in the chat. Just drop something in the chat saying, hey, Stephen, I was just thinking about that thing.
Hey, Steve, what's going
And
on?
then next month, drop another one in there saying, "Hey, Keith."
Hey, Keith.
Keith.
Oh God! Imagine. Oh God!
Imagine
I had a car that I named Keith.
That's a
once.
proper watch list name, isn't it?
Keith is a name that I'd given to a car.
I've named all of my cars. So I had Greta, which was the AMG.
Oh no!
Then I had Wolfgang.
Wolfgang.
Yeah.
You clearly like your German car.
Yeah. No, well, my missus named Wolfgang. Oh, sorry, no. Wolfgang was the AMG. Greta was my BMW, my M4. And then my current car is called Gertrude.
Gertrude. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've named any car bar one. It was a 1997 Skoda Felicia, or Felicia, or whatever you want to say.
Fellatio.
Fellatio, yeah. It was a Skoda. It was a Skoda from 1997. It was rusted and rotted beyond belief. Its rear suspension had collapsed, and for some reason, the thing had no coolant in it, and it still ran fine. The engine was robust. You couldn't knock the engine, and genuinely, it was a terrible car. I mean, we had it for a day and then scrapped it for the same money we bought it for. That should tell you all you need to know. But we named that car Keith. That was Keith.
I rate that.
I think I could find a picture of Keith actually and show.
Talking about
shit.
shit cars. My first Mazda MX-5, the head gasket blew, so I put a new head gasket in there. Spent about like 3 hours just redoing everything. One of the head bolts snapped, but there was a new gasket in there, so it snapped as I was tightening it up. And I thought, you know what? So I just welded my head gasket on.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. That is fixed. So there's a picture of Keith.
Let me see Keith.
And you can see the rear suspension is absolutely gone.
Oof. I need a minute to myself with Keith. Looks like Keith has been bagged.
Yeah, don't think about the exhaust pipe because, trust me, you would get diseases.
Yeah, you get a bit of tetanus from that.
You would get a lot from that. Tetanus is the least of your worries.
Oh mate,
if you slid into that exhaust pipe, it's a nice old car. It's just a really bad example. It was probably the cheapest car on Auto Trader at the time, and it was missing a lot of bits. And for some reason, I'll tell you what though, there was a Capri Sun in the back.
Oh, that is a win. You got to take it.
That is a win. For £150 in 2020, we purchased a Keith.
Oh, I do love a bit of Keith.
And you can't go wrong with a Keith. You cannot knock a good Keith.
No.
And I think about Keith on a regular basis because the guy who I bought Keith with and had a laugh with Keith with, he runs that car channel that I've been editing for.
Oh, Bukaki. I mean, car keys.
Keys, yeah. He actually refers to car keys as Kai keys, and it's really hard to not let it catch. And because it's caught for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're going to grow out of this joke, hopefully. And he's like, no, I won't. And I'm like, okay, I'll believe you. But no, I've been helping him with that. And so obviously he helped me. Ian and I, we did the Keith journey, the Keith saga together.
Do you know what would have been a better name? Do you know what would have been a better name for Keith? Rolf.
What's that? Rolf.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is,
it's got that vibe.
We were thinking about it, but I think Keith has the decency to stay away from the children.
Yeah, Rolf didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So ultimately, Keith won in that battle.
Do you know what it is yet?
Exactly. And every car since that he's owned, he's named. He had an MG midget called Rufus. Rufus, yeah. And the rest I can't remember. Yeah. But he's had some vehicles.
Well,
none of them were particularly sporty, just old.
I've had 28 cars now, and I've named every single one of them. But do you know what?
Yeah, how do you remember all those names?
Well, do you know what's even worse? I remember the registration plates for all of them as well.
Oh, I remember the registration plates of most cars.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like, it's just, I think, I'm not sure if it's because we're psychologically wired like that, like, in some way.
It's because you have to, every year you just have to know your, like, reg off by heart at least 5 times.
Well, I know my driving license number off by heart.
Yeah, so to be fair, if I committed to remembering it, I think I would too. Yes, because it begins with the first 5 letters of your surname usually, doesn't it?
It's...
Yes, so that's my access point. So now I remember that.
B-O-I.
B-O-I. If your surname isn't 5 letters long, would it have to restart?
That's a good point. Whoa.
No, it would just be those letters. It would just be your entire surname, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So if your surname, for whatever reason, is Cup, you would have a shorter surname than me. Right?
Yeah.
You would have a shorter driving license number than me. In fact, I don't know, because it says it's the exact number of digits as if it were 5 letters. So it could just say BOIBO.
It could do. But,
Yeah,
but
it could. I mean, you should know it. It's your driving license number. You should know this. You just look at your...
Just look at it. Yeah, but I can't, because then I'll have to say my real name.
Yeah, look at it, Graham.
Graham Norton, so N-O-R-T.
No, naughty.
Graham Naughty.
But now we're here fantasizing about the idea of Graham Norton's driving license number beginning with the word naughty, and I don't think that's going to end well.
Oh, Graham Norton is gay. Knew it.
Oh wow, revelation! What a revelation!
Next thing you're going to tell me is that Philip Schofield's gay.
Next thing you'll tell me is that Epstein didn't kill himself. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Worse.
Oh,
this is turning into an actual now proper rookies podcast.
Yeah.
Is it?
I'm not sure how much of this can stay in.
I think you'll be all right. I've said worse things and got away with the green monetization icon. Yeah,
but like you said the other day, it's the standard.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's a calculation of risk.
Okay, right.
So
in that case, then, if we're going to be sensible, I'm going to ask the next prepared question.
Very nice.
How has YouTube changed over the years?
In the time that I've got there, they keep fixing things that aren't broken while neglecting the things that are. So, it hasn't changed massively. I think it's a lot more creators. Of course, the old guard have sort of disappeared. Yeah. They've made their money. They struck while the iron was hot, and then they don't need to. But I think over the years that I've been doing this, and the years I've been in of an intelligence where I start to notice, that what's been going on and what's been changing. Obviously, the demonetization bullshit came in, and that is, like I said, an insurance policy. It's not like they have rules that you've broken. They're just calculating the risk that you might say something abhorrent.
Do you want to explain that to the viewers quickly about how that works?
So, my perception of YouTube demonetization isn't like you violated any rules because they don't issue a rule book on how to avoid it, and there's no reliable method. So they basically calculate like a risk that you might need a warning to avoid saying something controversial enough to cause advertisers to lose interest in the platform. So what happens really is you get demonetized randomly out of nowhere, effectively to keep you in line. Because if you are seemingly breaking away from your norm, you are no longer quantifiable as an entity. They can no longer calculate where you're going with what you're saying. And so somebody who says the occasional brash, perhaps slightly offensive, twitchy thing, or is just known for being somewhat on the edgier side, or says just says dark jokes like me, you're at a level, and you stay at that constant. There's no real concern.
Yeah.
And of course, you can activate demonetization so quickly. There are buzzwords. There are things that can get you demonetized. And obviously, you can declare your content, and when you declare it differently, you can declare your monetization status. For that, you have to disclose what the video entails. Sometimes,
yeah,
it's not. It's just a checklist.
Well,
it's really
that's
easy.
Something that a lot of people don't understand about. From the back end point of view, as creators, whenever we upload a video, we have to self-assess. We have to tell YouTube if there's any swearing in the title and the thumbnail.
But it's a really easy checklist. It doesn't take when you've been doing it. When you've done it 5 times.
Like now, I know if I play Red Dead content, I have to declare that there is gore in some elements or whatever. I know how to do it all.
I just highlight it as violence in a video game, because it does clarify in the clause that they mild. So it goes mild, moderate, severe. Yeah. You're not going to get monetized on anything over moderate declared. Yeah. So you have various topics, and you just declare if this is mildly present. And if it's a game, it's going to be mildly present. It's not moderate or severe because it's not real. So you can get away with a lot if you know how to categorize your content in this aspect. You can get away with an awful lot. But YouTube don't like when you become an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
They really don't like it when you out of nowhere start saying outlandish things, especially when compared to your previous content. So they will send you a warning like, look, don't push it.
Yeah.
We don't know where you're going with this, and it scares us because we don't want advertisers to pull out of our platform because you decided to be the next
PewDiePie
creator that said the naughty word on stream or something.
I have
like,
no idea
what
what you mean about the naughty word. No idea. Never heard.
Yeah, exactly. Me neither. I've never heard it before. It just seems like such a strange system because they treat it more like an insurance policy.
Yeah.
And they will fire warning shots at you, and that's all demonetization is. It's a warning shot to say, don't misbehave too much.
Yeah,
You've
I think
technically not done anything wrong, but we're going to penalise you anyway in case you do, because you won't want us to do it again.
Well,
and they just keep doing it. They will just randomly choose a video and go, no, we're not letting this one be monetized.
Well, I've set it now so all of my live streams after 24 hours they're only visible to members only, because every single one of my live streams is immediately demonetized, and when I request it to go for review, they decline it. And obviously they don't say why they've declined it. They just say that we've determined that your video is not acceptable for monetization. And
you see, it's really not. It's not a terrible scenario, because if you know what you're doing, they're not going to do it very often.
Yeah,
it's like, look, I'm not expanding beyond my usual self here.
Yeah.
But I want to say the appeal process, you're more likely to get declined. I don't think I've been approved on an appeal of a demonetized video before. There is one instance where I was. In fact, there are many instances where I was, but they all occurred on the same day. Because when they introduced the system, they just blanket demonetized a lot of videos.
Yeah.
They would blanket demonetize content by the thousands. And it was genuinely a really bad time to be on the platform, because all of your content that was fine before, you'd broken no rules, was now apparently not fit for advertisers, which has been judged after the fact when the rules suddenly do exist, but they also don't, because we don't get clarification on what they mean. So YouTube treat it more as a calculation of risk, and fire a warning shot every so often so that you don't become the next PewDiePie. And that is all that they're trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid that one thing that probably won't happen, because I guarantee you nobody actually gave a flying fuck what he'd said. They just don't. It was purely the uproar of it. It was the outcry.
It's the, like, when I was editing, I'm gonna have to edit this bit out, but when I was editing for when they started slowly rolling out the automatic demonetization, monetization bot essentially that they use, I think he had 500 videos get demonetized, and me and him literally sat down together for about 2 hours just disputing all the ones that we knew 100% weren't in violation.
Yeah.
And out of, I think it was about 200 videos that we disputed, only about 10 were approved. So in the end, those videos just got deleted, because it was just like, what's the point?
Yeah, but that must have sucked.
But yeah, so with if we work out the ad revenue that he lost, we predicted it somewhere around about 85 grand.
Oh, bloody hell, poor guy.
Mate, one day. It's the goal. It's the goal. I mean, GTA 6, I'm banking on it.
Yeah, a mate of mine says after GTA 6 you'll probably never need to work again. And I said, wouldn't that be boring?
Well, that's the thing. So someone said to me, when GTA 6 come out, you'll be sorted. I'm like, no, because what I'll do is yes, I'll have a couple of years of just making gameplay content, whatever, doing fine out of it. But then I will want to use that to make something else. I like making stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
even if it means I buy a super yacht and fuck off for the rest of my life, I'll be filming it.
Yeah, because you love boats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But for me, my goal is to buy a house first, so I have a property I own, and then after that, it would be a case of I'll buy a little boat and maybe, I don't know, spend a year or so away on that boat with my partner, and I'd probably vlog it, and maybe at that point probably would do a face reveal or something.
I love creating, I just love creating. So obviously I've got the history channel, I'm helping with that car channel. It's hard to tell whose idea it was at this point, because I love editing the videos for him. But I just love having a camera out in the world and doing things and perfecting the craft of making video content.
Let's talk about decades a little bit then.
Yeah, of course. Are we going to segue this into a bit you don't have to edit out?
Yeah. So what is decades?
Decades is a history-based YouTube channel that I've been running for the past 2 years almost, with a couple mates of mine. We go out to cool historical locations, either near us or near where we happen to be, and we film them, and then we turn it into a bit of content where we research the site and what its history is, and all of that stuff, and we turn it into a nice little video to sort of highlight the experience of the day, but also to highlight the fact that there's a cool historic monument not far from, say, this place or that place or whatever. And it sort of expanded. It's a bit stagnant at the moment because I haven't been out on location in a while. I haven't had anything to actually post. But it's a creative outlet, effectively. I don't care if it grows. I'm quite happy with it where it is, but I'd love for it to actually grow and turn into something huge eventually. But my main goal is to just use it as a creative outlet that gaming content just isn't, because I love using an actual camera. I'm not a huge camera nerd, but I do love using a camera.
Yeah, same man.
Yeah, same man. Yeah. No, I mean you've told me things that I've taken on board, and even in the little test shots that I've done, I can just see how effective it is. Genuinely, you've told me so many simple things that I didn't realise or didn't even consider I might have been doing not correctly. There's no right
that's
or
the
wrong,
thing as well. Like,
it's
a lot of people say when they see like my live streams look very different to my videos because the color grade. But like people have said about my videos, like
you can apply a color grade in Streamlabs.
Can you?
Mm.
Why am I just not?
The student becomes the master.
How do you do that?
It's in filter. If you go into the filters, you have a color grade filter and you have a lookup table filter. You can apply those.
Oh my!
So what I do is I go into brightness and contrast. I'll take out some contrast and apply a lookup table.
You jammy bastard! I love you.
Exactly. You can apply if you've got like a LUT pack that you use to stream with. You can apply that LUT pack to your streams. You just have to. You might want to take out a bit of contrast because I presume you usually shoot your videos in log. It probably isn't efficient to use log for live video because it's I don't. Really
for my live streams, I use Rec 709 because shooting in log is like
add two
massive.
filters, take out some contrast, add a little bit of brightness, and apply your LUT, and it should look more or less identical.
Perfect.
And yeah, I mean it won't look as good, but a live stream never will. The bitrate absolutely fucks it.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like, so a lot of people ask me about like my setup and like the lights I use, but the thing is if I take my Pro Mist filter and my polarizer off my camera, my setup doesn't look anywhere near as impressive as it does in my videos.
Is that the mist filter you told me to buy?
Yeah.
I've got it. It's in my bag with my camera, and I can't. Honestly, I think the shot I look forward to the most is when it's nighttime and it's raining, just looking straight at like a street lamp.
Yep,
that's got to be the best, the most satisfying, simple shot you can get.
But that's the thing. Like, a lot of people have said to me, like, so in my shots I have on the top right of the screen there's always just the edge of a light blooming in, and then of course I have the big blue ring light, and like people are like, oh well, how do you make the light glow like that and stuff. I've had so many other videographers. I'm like, literally, it's not magic. It's just a Pro Mist filter.
Yeah. And it's just how that applies to that. So which Pro Mist filter is it that you use?
I think it's a quarter.
It's the quarter
one. I think it's the 1/4.
Yeah. What was it? Which one was it that? Oh yeah. So I've got two of them now. Because you recommended the 1/8 and the 1/4, and the half Pro Mist filter just looked a bit too potent. Like it looked like it took detail out. And I just didn't like that one.
The half Pro Mist, the only time you should ever use the half Pro Mist is if you're filming in like a warehouse and there's one light source and you want to just have that like eerie, disgusting cyberpunk-esque vibe. That's when you should go for it. But it will completely wreck the highlights on people's faces. Yeah, like it would just ruin the shot.
It's very much so a low light situation. And I shoot in low light anyway a lot of the time. I love shooting in low light. But I also like the natural look of things not glowing that intensely. Especially when I can add in like light rays from a light source with an effect, because like the rays you see sometimes in like shots and things like that, a lot of the time that can be exaggerated by an effect to look kind of nice, and I know the effect that I can use in the software I use, so I just opt for that, and I'd save the detail of everything else.
Like I used to do a lot of nighttime street photography in my local town, which I can't say on here. But I used to do a lot of nighttime photography, and like I got
It's
to the
from
point.
Berwick upon Tweed, everyone.
Yeah, I am. That's exactly where I'm from. I will find out where that is and put it on the screen.
It's basically at the Scottish border. So.
Yeah. Actually, I work for Rockstar North. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Rockstar.
So I drive to work every day.
That's still a good hour or two away from Rockstar North, surely.
Yeah, but according to the comments on my videos, if I work for Rockstar, I'd drive 12 hours each day to get to the office.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a commutable distance if you're in Europe. So you could live in Croatia and you'd be in a commutable distance to get to Rockstar North in Edinburgh, Scotland, every day.
5 days a week.
Oh, God, can you imagine that commute? You'd give up after, halfway there. No, you'd give up before you left Croatia. But...
They could tell me the answer to the Mount Chiliad mystery and I still wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't do it either. I mean, that's an interesting topic as well, to be fair, that one.
Yeah.
Travelling 12 hours a day to work at Rockstar North. It's like, you do realise if you've got to do that each way, that's your entire day. People are, obviously we're exaggerating, but people are saying, like, people don't realise that a lot of people, there's a very high turnover rate in the games industry, for one. And a lot of people have agreed to these remote contracts. So they don't live anywhere near Rockstar and a Rockstar studio. And that's the problem. It's not that people are being called back into the office. It's the fact that people aren't working people aren't working locally because they don't live local to Rockstar North. They agreed on a contract when they didn't.
Well, so I'm not. This might be a new scoop for this video, and I wasn't doing a separate video about it, but fuck it, I'll just direct people to watch this. So I spoke to the person I know that works at Rockstar, and Rockstar have actually conceded. So a lot of people that do
they would have
remote
done
contracts. Yeah,
I think a lot of people. I think after every human involved disagrees, what's actually stopping you from just saying no?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, so back on it.
They had some very senior people that kicked off about it, and obviously I can't say names or anything, but some people that have been at Rockstar for 15 years were also, to set a precedent, they were told by the heads at Rockstar that they need to also abide by these rules. Obviously, so it has the trickle down effect and it sets a precedent for the whole business. And literally half the people at Rockstar just went, no.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people that live in like Edinburgh and in Leeds, all returning back to work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people that are. So some of the people that work at Rockstar, they are like, there might be a team of 3 people that solely focus for the past 5 years on one particular part of the game. And
I want to know who does all the mysteries. I want to know who that is. I want to buy them a pint or 10.
I want to buy them a pint. Do you know what? I could probably find out. We could probably sort that out.
I'd love to find out so I can buy them many pints. I'm sure it's a team, but I'll buy them all a pint because bloody hell, these guys not only have indirectly made me a fair whack of dough. I just love what they do.
Yeah.
So I want to buy them a pint, get them inebriated enough to tell me whether or not it will be a thing in GTA 6, and then I can sleep at night. I don't even want to know anything else about the game. It's going to be the most soft, like, this is a soft-core NDA violation I'm asking for here.
You're just asking for foreplay, that's it.
Exactly. I don't even want to know what those mysteries are. I just want to know, are there mysteries in a similar vein to those in Red Dead Redemption 2? Because they've been working up to it. I think there
must be.
I think absolutely. I am willing to bet basically at this point my career on it, aren't I? Yeah. So I am willing to bet there will be, and if there's not, whatever. But I'm willing to bet that there will be plenty. There'll be plenty of environmental storytelling because it was present in GTA 5, 4. It was present in San Andreas, Vice City in 3 to lesser degrees. It was present in Red Dead Redemption, and they ramped that up with 2. I think generally their game design follows the same pattern. So they encompass both of these franchises into what they should do because they're so formulaically similar, aren't they? So
yeah,
similar. So I think genuinely it's going to be very straightforwardly a yes, but I would still love to buy a pint and get a yes or no answer. I don't care if they I don't care if about the rest of the details. There was a video on a supposed leaked list of all the things, of all the mysteries, the world events, etc. And I just sort of like, I banged it on, and then just did something else while it was on because I didn't care. I just thought, oh, this will be an interesting watch, and forgot it was on.
Well, this kind of leads into another little bit there as well, which is like there's two sides to what I think. Obviously, I'm only just starting out as a creator myself, but like there's this kind of shadow over, I think, both myself and you, that at least a part of our career or future career is fully in the hands of a games developer that probably doesn't know we exist.
Yeah, you say that.
Terrifying.
You say that, but then you tell me about a Rockstar employee you interviewed a year ago.
Yeah,
I think the people who make the game are more aware of what occurs on the platform of YouTube.com than the company. The company,
but like,
the company is
example,
indifferent to
with
the
Rockstar,
people working for it, let alone us.
With a Rockstar employee, I used to work with them before they went to Rockstar, so that's the only reason they know I exist.
Yeah, but nonetheless, these are people that exist in the world. They interact with me. They interact with media, I'd imagine, not dissimilarly to you or I. So chances are, if they're like, oh, I worked on this game, I want to look up what people are saying about it. There's a very, very, very fucking good chance that they have heard of you and me, and many other creators, big and small. Which is also as terrifying as them not knowing about it.
Yeah,
because you don't know if they're going to fucking parody you. You don't know.
That's what I mean. But that's something else as well. It's like something that I struggle to really wrap my head around. It's like Rockstar Games follow Mr. Boss for the win and stuff like that.
Do they?
And like, they follow him on Twitter and Instagram.
I think it's probably they've probably got like a case study department for things they're going to parody.
Maybe.
To be fair, he's earned getting parodied by Rockstar, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's gone so far that I think that we've broken the fourth wall, and like I think he's actually self-aware of his parody. However, today there was someone took a photo outside Rockstar North's head offices.
Yeah.
And Mr. Boss edited out their watermark on the photo and set it as the thumbnail for one of his videos.
Isn't that copyright infringement?
Yes.
I mean, it's
but
probably not a difficult...
When has that stopped him? Yeah, when has that stopped him before?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be fair, with images and YouTube, it's really, really hard to argue that the copyright has been violated, because it's not necessarily hard to snap a picture, but and obviously copyright takes into account the difficulty of replicating something, and walking up to the door of Rockstar North and taking a picture. Who knows? But I mean, if it's a Rockstar image and they're sharing it as part of their "we're back at work, let's do some mad shit," I don't think it's the biggest violation of copyright that you'll ever hear of. It was a fan that went to Rockstar's offices and took a photo of the new, because they've got like new GTA 6 artwork. Oh, so did the fan take the picture? Let me find it. I'll send you a link. And put their watermark on the picture. Yeah, they put their own watermark on the picture. Now it's making sense. Yeah, personally, I wouldn't. I try where possible. I mean, I probably have in the past used images that I didn't have the rights to, but look, these days I try my best to avoid doing that, at least not without appropriate credit. Yeah, of course. That's the thing. Like, so there's two sides to it. Either way, obviously, we can both admit it's wrong. But there's a difference between an honest mistake and and then intentionally going out your way to discredit someone. I think that's where the line is. Removing the watermark is a sneaky one. But look, I'm not gonna pick up a pitchfork and run at Mr. Boss. I will. I've done it before. I'll do it again. No, there's a difference between that and just saying, "Look, man, what are you doing?" But I mean, there are a lot of creators out there that don't. There is a chance that they're not thinking about it, and the watermark just appears to be in the way. They don't realise that it's actually legally binding in its presence. Yeah. I think it's also a sense of like, to what extent Mr. Boss actually makes his videos. We don't really know. There's like, he could have someone just editing it for him. Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, the guy's just a guy. In the end of the day, in his position, I'd probably have somebody else edit my videos too. Yeah, 100%. I think that's like something we spoke about the other day. Like, because I should probably tell the viewers, we had like a 4-hour phone call the other day. And we did about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. That fucked me.
I didn't realize it was so long
Yeah,
until we got off the call.
You said quick 10 minutes. It's like a quick 5-10 minute chat. And
it's like
there we were 4 hours later talking about Greg's sausage rolls.
I was like, dude, can I run something past you quickly? And also, you know what? This is a good time in the podcast to tell my viewers. Massive respect to you, Fishy, because like I had a lot of very dumb and confusing questions because I've been an editor on YouTube for years, but this is my first time as the creator. So I'm experiencing now a whole new world of fandom, comments, weird community engagements I don't understand. And you've been very, very, very useful to clarify when I'm worried about shit or not. So everyone right now, go and subscribe to Fishy.
I'm still figuring it out myself. I appreciate that. I'm still figuring it out myself. So, but I've been doing this for a long time to know whether or not something's something to worry about. And the answer is usually no. The answer is you don't have to worry about that. Or...
I think I had a rough 3 weeks where I got like a load of videos demonetized. I had people stealing my videos and then copyright striking me, and then YouTube sending me termination emails. So I was going for like this period of.
Oh, to be fair, that is something to be worried about.
So I had like this whole weird period where like, how have I just started and it's already gone to shit? Like how have I possibly ended up here?
You're doing the you're playing the YouTube bingo. Because every creator encounters these issues at some point, and sometimes they get confused, but usually it turns up green for the person who's in the right. Because
and it has for me. Like it was touch and go, and to be fair, I actually had a human at YouTube contact me, like an actual person that deals with proper accounts, to clarify some bits, because there was a period of time where people were striking my content for privacy policy violations. It happened to a lot of creators.
Privacy policy violations?
Yeah, so you can actually report someone's video for containing your personal information. It's like reporting them for doxing.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
And YouTube automatically sends an email to the creator, but the email that myself and a few other channels received, it didn't say you've been reported for this, or to ask us what was happened. Like, we were receiving timestamps on our videos that were literally to absolutely nothing. We all had exactly the same timestamp, and YouTube said that the video needs to be edited in YouTube's editor within 48 hours, otherwise the video will be removed. And then what they did is once they realised that something was going wrong after everyone was screaming about it on Twitter, YouTube then actually reached out personally to the creators to say, this is wrong. And they changed what that email says now, so creators don't receive that same email anymore. But it basically said that we had to delete, I think it was 40 videos in total. I had to either delete 40 videos, or have my account terminated, and then I can request a review after that. So it was like a whole thing where YouTube having an automated system that didn't work. Luckily, because myself and obviously a lot of big creators, some people 500,000+ subs, actually made a scene about it. YouTube then were like, okay, actually our system doesn't work here. They didn't say that their system didn't work. They just changed it.
I would love to know what constitutes a privacy policy email. I mean, it would have to be like somebody's address or information that individual isn't volunteering.
I'll send you.
So it's a bit more than just a Twitter handle.
Yes. Yeah, no, it has to be someone's face. Or,
it has to be somebody's face, and this is something that people need to understand, screenshots of DMs.
Yes.
Avoid that. Don't share screenshots of DMs because you're entering some murky data protection water.
YouTube removed one of my videos because I included a conversation with YouTube.
That's really strange because that's not with an individual. That's more of an entity thing. But I mean, if it applies, it applies, doesn't it? You can't really. I suppose it's not something to argue with, but I mean, it does strike me as odd. It
was a really, really, really tricky one because there was like a certain situation there, which is, how can I win?
Usually anything too serious, unless you've actually done something serious, you should be all right.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that worried me, because they did start. After 48 hours, they removed 2 of my videos, which those videos were me literally just talking, no screenshots, no DMs. One of them was like 2 minutes long, where it's just me giving a GTA 6 news update. And the timestamp that was given was the same as a load of other creators. They all got the exact same. I think Inter GTA, he reached out to me on Discord. He got the exact same email. And we all thought, you know what, we'll ignore it because it'll be fine. Like, because at the end of the day, we've done nothing wrong. I am not a criminal. I've committed no crime.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. But then when they started actually deleting people's videos, it was like, oh, right, okay, this is actually now becoming a problem.
Yeah, no, at the moment they start deleting videos, it's a problem. Yeah.
I think I got both my videos reinstated, but one of the videos that they reinstated had no views.
That's the tracking information. What would have happened is they would have removed it, and also probably that version of the proxy file that you actually view when you watch it. So the one that they'd actually put in instead had absolutely no data attributing view information to it, and so that makes sense. Yeah,
and also it only came back in 1080p and below. It didn't come back in the 4K original file.
So it was a different proxy file. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've never had that happen. I've been very lucky with YouTube. Like, so far so good, but you never know when it might change. But I've got sort of like a good idea of how to avoid it. So obviously every video has a watermark for... I usually have the watermark show up for part of the video and then disappear. Because if somebody's stealing the content, they're not necessarily going to watch the entire thing before they nick it. So your chances of proving that the content is yours, for example, will go up exponentially when the person who stole the content didn't twig on that there's a watermark there. So people who use massive watermarks, don't do that because it's noticeable. Small watermark physically embedded in the actual video, that you know where it is, you can see it, it's clear to see, but somebody might not necessarily notice if they're planning to nick your content, and that usually works out.
Do you know what? The new thing that started to happen, this is probably more recently, but do you know where YouTube automatically captions your videos?
Yeah.
So people can now, there's websites where you can rip captions from videos, and this was one of the big complaints I had originally. So someone ripped the captions from one of my videos. It was 164 hidden details in the GTA 6 trailer. Yeah. And in that video, I started talking about how one of the shots looked like they were trying to replicate Hollywood by using like pro mist filters, for example, making all the highlights bloom and stuff like that. This dude ripped like my 16-minute video word for word, put it into an AI chat software, got it to speak back my script, and he literally downloaded my video, cut off my intro, cut off my outro, retitled it as 200 hidden details rather than 164.
So he's down 36 already.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't add any new points in the video. So I issued a copyright strike against him, and then YouTube came back to me and said it wasn't a violation. But in YouTube terms of service, it says that stealing written works is. So I disputed it.
It is a violation, yeah.
Yeah, I disputed it, and then finally they took the other video down. And then this guy went on this really weird tirade in my Discord.
Where he chose to expose himself for the little thief.
And then he messaged me directly.
Oh, well.
He messaged me directly and said that he didn't steal it, he only added 1 point. So I copied his script from his video and put it next to mine in a Word document and just sent it to him saying, tell me the difference. And then he went to my live stream and donated $20 to me. I don't understand.
Well, look, you can't knock him for making amends there. I'd take the $20 and go, that's fine, don't worry about it.
Well, I said to him, in the live stream, I was like, thanks for $20. I'm really confused, though, because he was still messaging me at the same time saying that he's done nothing wrong. So I was like, if I've done... payment. Well, I said to him, look,
royalties.
I said to him, admit you've done nothing wrong. Admit I've done nothing wrong. Admit you're in the wrong, and I'll refund you your $20. I don't care. Like, I just don't like this whole thing where, because he went out on a massive tirade and like saying how I stole the video from him, and I'm like, what?
What? It was your video was published after? How? What? How did that?
Yeah, his video was published like a week after mine.
Yeah.
And when I asked him what a pro mist filter was, he was like, oh, they use it on cameras, and I'm like, you've just Googled that.
It's but what is it specifically? And that's where you get the confusion, because you and I both know that it's effectively a transparent lens cap that effectively filters over and causes a particular effect. For example, bloom.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it takes the sharpness out of an image.
It was ridiculous. And I did say to the guy, why did you put 200 in your titles? And he's like,
yeah, well,
he replied,
200 man, really?
I was like, mate, like, I think I'd be less pissed off if he put 164, at least to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the fact that he took the script and reworked it in AI, then turned it into his own content, and the bit that you choose to pick up on is that he's got 200 in the title.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking a piss, but taking the piss is fine, but don't take liberties.
Yeah, taking the piss. I don't mind a bit of a piss. To be fair, I don't mind the crime, but the piss take on top, man. Come on, you know.
The crime is fine. It was the execution of the crime that I didn't agree with.
Yeah, the crime. Look, mate. Whatever floats your boat, but 200. Why? It's like arresting a serial killer who leaves like a sweaty sock behind at every scene. And you pick them up, you arrest them because you're the cop in this scenario, and instead of being pissed off of all the lives that this man has ruined, and it is a man because it's a sock that he's leaving behind, the bit that perplexes you, the bit that baffles you, the bit that you have to ask about is why the sock? You know?
Why the sock?
Why the sock? I don't care that you've been dismembering innocent members of the public. What is the fucking point in the sock? Tell me about the sock. What does it mean? I need to know. Why are they always odd? Do you own any pairs?
Oh, mate, I'm wearing odd socks right now.
Yeah, well, it's International Odd Socks Day every day. Every day. Just keep wearing odd socks. I mean, at the moment, I'm in matching socks, but I don't care.
I'm male, I live alone, and I'm fully in charge of my washing schedule. So yes, my socks are odd.
Odd socks and probably nothing else then. I know what the male mind is like, because I too, as it turns out, am a male.
Lies.
It's been a long journey.
It's been a long, mate. Do you know what's weird about? So this is something that I find really interesting about your channel, because obviously you can see like your earlier videos, especially some of your shorts they're now shorts, but they weren't at the time.
Oh, God.
You can see when you were younger. And you can see how much you've changed. You don't even look the same.
Yeah, what happened was I got a bit taller, I got a lot wider, and I grew a beard.
Do you want to see? Wait, I want to send you a photo of me at 16. That was me.
Jesus
at
fucking Christ! Sorry,
that was me at 16.
Oh God, what? That's a nice tattoo.
Yeah, thank you. I still have that, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, I mean you were 16 at the time, so I wasn't sure if it was a real one.
Oh no, I had that tattoo when I was 14.
Naughty boy. Fair enough.
I was.
I mean, the hairstyle, that's problems right there. That is,
yeah, I mean that was my scene phase.
That's you rebelling against your father. At the moment, that's quite some poofy long hair as well.
Thank you. I grew it myself.
Yeah, I mean I've got fairly long hair at the moment. It's just about.
Yeah, you got the whole Arthur Morgan thing going.
Yeah, I've got to get rid of it for my dad's wedding in like September. But until then, my girlfriend, she keeps asking when am I going to get it cut. My mates are like, when are you going to get that sorted out? And my mum's the same. She's on me about it, but she was on me about my beard before that. She's accepted it now, and every time I clean shave, she looks at me and goes, "You look fucking weird." So I think the beard is accepted as part of me. But
to be fair, I haven't had a haircut in. Well, I've been cutting my own hair for the past few weeks because
DIY.
DIY, and the main reason why it's a DIY haircut is because I'm doing daily uploads, so I haven't touched grass in a while.
Yeah, man. People say it looks like Arthur Morgan, and I go, no. If Arthur Morgan was English and inbred, maybe.
It is. I'm sorry, but the hair, when you pushed it back yesterday in the stream, I was like, oh my God, he's about to shoot up like the whole of a Midwestern 1800s bar. That was the vibe.
Yeah. I remember like I've always been compared visually to like all kinds of strange people. One of the any sort of like celebrity ever. There's been a likening. If it's a bloke with facial hair.
Oh. Someone compared you to someone yesterday in your live stream. I can't remember who it was.
It would have been one that I'd heard before. One of the ones that I hear all the time is like it's usually followed by like a Wish version of, or like a B-Tech this or that. And one of them was hang on, I need to find this now because somebody commented on the live stream after it went up as a video, because I leave mine up in like a separate playlist. and somebody commented, this one really made me laugh. It was kind of looks like Daniel Radcliffe if he was from the Witcher universe. And somebody said he reminds me of Daniel Radcliffe in Escape from Pretoria. Another one said, why do you look like Johnny Harris's brother? I don't know who Johnny Harris... And another one said, greetings, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So
Johnny Harris is a YouTuber. He's a journalist.
I thought it was Johnny Harris in the picture. I'm going to have to Google him, and then I'll realise I look nothing like him.
You don't look anything like him, to be fair. Yeah, there's a bit of that going on.
No, I look nothing like him.
No, but he has hair. He does have hair too, and you have hair.
Yeah, he has hair. He has hair. I have hair. He has beard. I have beard. His is a bit more ginger than mine, and that's a very noticeable feature. Granted, I will say his facial hair, on that note alone, is cooler, but no, I don't see the likening. Also, the eye colour. I think those are some. I have some icy eyes.
Like, yeah, your eyes are cold and dark, but they're nice. I like them.
They're the cold eye. They're cold, dead eyes. They've seen a lot.
I'll be honest. It was a tricky wank.
It was a tricky wank. I'm not sure whether I should be confused, amused, or insulted, but here we are.
All of the above. Take them all, man. Take them all and run with them.
Yeah, man. That in itself is that is a tricky wank. But and somebody screenshotted it and tweeted the thumbnail of that stream with my dad returning to see me watching anime after he left for the milk. And I didn't even respond to that. I just retweeted it and simply responded with, I've been through some conflicts. Because, I don't know. But I think for every streamer, I'm going to do those more often where I just stream and talk to people. Because, I mean, I've jumped into a few lives where you've done that and they've genuinely just been really fun. And, you know, just to be involved with. And I think they're just really cool.
Mate, you need to do more live streams. Because your live stream yesterday, like, I was editing some thumbnails and stuff at the time, and like genuinely it was just good to have on. Like, you are really good with live streams.
Yeah, and I'd love to do more of those. So I think for the thumbnails of those in future, it's just going to be more pictures of me as I gradually descend further into insanity. I'm going to have to get pictures of me in really strange places as well. So I'm going to go to the landfill site.
But best place to do it is like in a toilets in a pub with loads of urinals and just with loads of people stood at the urinals, just taking selfies.
Yeah, I know, but I need to be advertiser friendly, don't I?
Yeah, as long as you don't show the pee-pee.
I know. Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, it would weird me out having somebody taking a selfie in a bathroom.
I mean, no, with people you know, obviously, not.
They would have to not actually have their cock out, so I can disclose nobody's.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but because you don't know, urinals can get reflective in that, so you might have reflected, distorted penis in the corner of the view.
That's true, and also I'll have to say this thumbnail didn't contain any splashback.
No, I like splashback. I mean,
do you know those urinals that are like steel, and whenever you pee into them, it just splashes against you?
Oh God. The urinals where you accidentally wet yourself in trying to do anything but. I'm more of a if at all possible use the cubicle kind of bloke.
Yeah, me too.
Because if it's there, it's open. I'm not pissing into what is a glorified sink. No. I'm just not doing it. I've got too much self-respect for that. Genuinely, I don't know why when toilets are busy, people aren't pissing in the sink, because they basically are anyway. Do you know when there's
like 4 empty urinals and you go to one of them, and then that weird fucking old drunk dude.
There's always that bloke who decides to piss right next to you, and it's like, mate.
Yeah, like, do you know the rules? It's leave one. Always leave one. Start with the furthest one away.
The rules are, look, be at opposite ends of the trough.
Yep.
Don't be next to another bloke. And if it looks a bit congested, but you think you can force your way through, don't. Just wait.
Wait. Patience is the key.
Nobody's in there to be close to another man's cock exposed while their cock is also exposed. We're in there to do a very simple task. It doesn't take long. We're aiming for accuracy, and we don't need the weirdos. I mean, there is the occasional moment where you'll be having a waz in a urinal because there's no option. And you're drunk usually. That's the only time where you're actually confident enough to use one. And there'll always be, every so often, there'll be this bloke who's drunker than you, who comes and pisses right next to you while staring at your cock. You know, there's always that one guy, and it's like, mate, look, come on.
Well, not literally, but...
What are you doing? Gradually, his aim appears to be getting better and that's how you know you've discovered.
Yeah, and then after 3 seconds of awkward silence while he's leaning over you, he decides to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's about something unrelated to the fact that you've both got your cocks out and you're pissing. And that's the bit that gets me. I mean, it's disarming because you know there's no like nefarious intentions involved. It's just this guy is off his face and he's decided this is the best moment to have a chat.
And also, do you know what else I hate? Do you know when you go like into a cubicle because you got to do a number 2, and there's always someone in there that's really over comfortable, like, oh yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, shit in silence, dude.
Yeah. Sling a turd in peace, please. Allow me.
Sling a turd.
Yeah, no, I can't do the defecation in any form of public toilet. I just wait until I'm home, or if I'm at.
Oh no, I like if I've got to go, I've got to go. I'm not going to be uncomfortable for the sake of it.
No, well, that's the thing. You can ignore it and leave it for later. It's fine because after a while it stops.
The pain stops.
The pain stops, and you'll just have to come back later. It's not advisable, but I just prefer it because I know I know who's been on the toilet seat at home, and I know there's no diseases there, and
That's
also usually it's not covered in piss.
That. Do you know what? No, if a toilet seat, if like I went to the M40 service station about a year ago, and I'll never forget this. I went into a cubicle, and I'd been waiting as well for ages.
Somebody, yeah, but that's where you encounter what happens when you buy sushi from petrol stations.
Mate, it was up the it was thick and it was up the walls, and I'm thinking how, and it wasn't it like how what incarnation happens?
There was a public bathroom on a car park in Exmouth, and I shit you not, I walked in, Armageddon of liquid shit everywhere.
Oh, it's chaos.
It didn't even stink that bad, but you could just see like a bomb had gone off. And this guy must have been launched across the entire room. Like, Jesus Christ, it was projectile shot 6 feet into the, up the wall.
I just don't get it. I just don't get. Like, as humans, we can build spaceships. We can do all of these incredible things, but we can't make the poo-poo go in the toilet hole.
I mean, I've not had an issue, to be fair, even on my more incontinent days, courtesy of, the spicy food obsession.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can handle things that I simply cannot.
I honestly, my heat tolerance is a bit mental. Granted, I don't like eating spicy food for the sake of eating spicy food. It has to taste good. So I don't tend to overindulge on the spicy aspect, but I will make things a lot spicier than other people do and enjoy it.
Animal.
I can eat something that's bastard spicy. And it's because I used to not be able to handle it as a kid, but my dad kept giving me spicy food. So I'd be there like, this is until I wasn't anymore, And my dad was like, and my dad and I sort of have a bit of back and forth about who can handle more spicy food at this point.
Yeah, but that's a discussion that always ends up bad.
For him, he's in the corner crying, and I'm like, "Don't worry, Dad. I have to pay the price in the morning, but at least I look good now."
Mate, I go near spicy food and I get the sweat.
He likes spicy food, but it can make him tear up a little bit earlier than me. However, he wins purely because he doesn't get the shits afterwards.
See, I'm like spicy food. So I've had spicy food before and I've been okay. But what I've realised is my definition of spicy is very different from what yours would be.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of things that are supposedly spicy, but I can't taste it. I go, this isn't bad. Like, if you went to, say, KFC and bought a Zinger burger, it's not spicy.
No, that's not spicy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would agree that's not spicy. I mean, I know a lot of people who don't like spicy food who disagree and say that's spicy. I think I know somebody who said that once upon a time they found mayonnaise spicy. And I thought, what?
What?
Yeah, I think it's a more of a turn of phrase. But
I hope so.
But yeah, you hope so. Otherwise, you'd find water spicy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, just 80% of your body is spicy.
Mayonnaise is just lube for your burger. Like, how do you find that spicy?
Burger lube.
It's bloob. You know,
Bloob.
it's bloob. You know, I don't get it.
By the way, YouTube, if you're watching YouTube, we said bloob, not boob, okay?
But I say boob.
Boob.
Boob. Because you're not gonna get demonetized for saying boob. Ickle boobies there. That's not gonna get you. That's not gonna get you demonetized.
Honestly,
it's when you start describing how you interact with said boob. That's where you get demonetized.
Hang on, let me Google motorboating.
You and your love for boats, man.
Everything can involve a boat. Booby boats. So, do you know what? This is an interesting point, to be fair. Like, so a lot of my viewers won't know this, but I pretty much grew up around boats. Like, pretty much my whole life until I was like 14, I was around boats. Like, I've always been on the water. I never lived on a boat, but like, my dad has had multiple boats over the years, and I've always been around them. I've got an ROAA yachting license, powerboat license. Like I've always grown up around boats, but obviously the biggest thing that's linked to boats is they are fucking expensive. And like, I mean, to buy one doesn't have to be expensive, but to maintain one definitely is. So for me, like my plan with YouTube is, and it's fully like materialistic, and I'm aware of it, but I own it. Like, I want to own a house so I'm secure, and then throughout the years I would like to buy a decent sized boat that maybe has a little cabin in it, and I would like to make boating content. I want to make a boat channel.
Yeah, I think it's my mum who. Yeah, my mum wants to own a canal boat. She's got this like desire to have a canal boat, and I'm like, sounds fun.
Thing is, like, for me, what I like about boats is like the risk, like the fact that it is dangerous, and like you have to have a mutual respect with the sea for it to be a beneficial relationship. It's really like, this can go on and be as deep as you want it to be, but like the fact that the most powerful force that we have on Earth, other than gravity, is the ocean, and like having that relationship with the ocean is something that I think is really interesting. Yeah,
you certainly don't want to underestimate the ocean.
No, exactly.
And you've got to respect water.
Well, I used to have a fear of boats. I used to be like, genuinely, I couldn't go near one until I was thrown in the deep end.
Yeah,
literally.
I used to look at people driving cars and go, how do you do that from one side of the car and still have a gauge for it? And then I learned to drive and was like, you know what, that's not too bad.
Yeah, but it's an expensive passion, cars.
They're all expensive passions.
Thing is, also, it's a false economy, because I've always, like, especially when I was younger, I bought cheaper cars thinking this will be a fun project. But when you actually look into it, you've spent like 10 times more than a 50 grand car would cost over the space of like 10 years. It's a false economy.
You spend a lot on maintaining cars anyway. You might as well save yourself the upfront cost and have something run for less, and then just, you know, maintain it as and when. It's a much, like, I don't own fancy cars, fast cars, whatever like that. I drive a diesel, you know. I mean, I had a petrol before that.
Because you're smarter than me, that's why.
I don't know if there's a smarter aspect to it. It's just a, you know, it doesn't have as many things that can go wrong, a diesel. And also nobody's going to steal the catalytic converter because it's not got any precious metals in it. And that's a nice benefit. But the things that can go wrong will kill the car really quickly if they do. So
that's what I mean, like oils, because they're already like under tension, like they run out a diesel, if they run out of oil, like, or if you run out of diesel for that matter, you got to bleed your whole engine. Like, it's a bit of a stressy
But I will say this, that they don't care what's in them as long as something is.
Yeah.
So, well, up until they put DPFs in anyway. But but the oil will turn black immediately. That you can't judge the health of the oil by the colour of it like you can in petrols, where they're like nice gold
diesel
colour
is just carbon deposits everywhere.
yeah, and that'll harm your economy down the line. But I mean, until by that point, you might as well get rid of the car and just get another diesel because it's fine.
Yeah.
But no, diesel are demonized these days. They are demonized, and they're like probably the most fuel efficient.
It is.
Type of...
Like, I've had a 3 litre diesel before, and obviously at the moment I've got a 3 litre petrol, and the 3 litre diesel, if you work out on a per mile basis, is far better for the environment than my 3 litre petrol, yet my road tax it is expensive at the moment, but next year it's coming down to like 170 quid. My road tax is less than it is on a diesel. Like,
yeah. It's
like,
well, I mean, I think there was a time where what manufacturers said came out per mile wasn't quite right.
VW.
VW, yeah. And what is this? The old emissions scandal thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 dudes that have arrest warrants out for that. There's some CEOs of VW. I think one of them's in jail. He's got 10 years.
Yeah, and diesel's reputation will never sort of like come back. It's something I hear as like a sort of consensus of diesel is demonized beyond belief now. It will disappear. But, I mean, if you're doing a lot of miles in a year, if you're doing a lot of motorway journeys, get a diesel.
Yep.
Get a diesel.
100%.
It is not just better for you financially, it's probably going to be better for the environment as well, because you're not burning through more fuel.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the other thing as well. It's like, obviously, I'm a through and through petrol head, and over the years I've owned a few diesels, and for me, the best cars I've ever had to drive, to run, to insure, to live with have always been diesels. And I bought into like the misconceptions when I bought, like, for example, when I had the AMG. I was like, oh yeah, I got a petrol car, I got a real car now, and straight away I realised that everything that I loved about the diesel was gone.
Yeah, I do. Well, all the torque as well, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You don't even need a powerful diesel, and you've got torque coming out your ears.
That's what I mean. Like,
as long as it's got a turbocharger and it's not an old lethargic diesel, you're all right.
Who cares about the top speed? The 0 to 30 is actually really what makes the car feel special. Like, getting out onto a main road is important.
You can. Yeah, in any modern diesel, because they all have turbochargers. If you're putting power into it at a low gear, the turbo is going to kick in, and you're going to get there pretty quick. Yeah.
I had
in a front wheel drive car, you're going to get torque steer out your head as well.
Exactly, and I had an E93 BMW, which is like the one after the E46. That for me, it was a 2-litre diesel. It was underpowered for all intents and purposes.
A 4-cylinder 2-litre diesel.
Yeah, and it was honestly, it was sick.
160 brake horsepower tops, yeah.
182.
Not too bad for what is going to be a yacht.
But it was rear wheel drive, and it got the back end out the same way as any car that's more powerful than that would, because the torque, it just broke traction, and it was sick.
Because as long as you've got the turbo doing its job, you're gonna, you've got the power to really lose control. So if it's a front wheel drive, you get torque steer. If it's rear wheel drive, you might get a loose back end.
Like me after a curry.
Yeah, exactly. Or me after indeed a dodgy chicken burger that's just covered in capsaicin. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know.
It is. It's capsaicin. Capsaicin. I think it's capsaicin.
Yeah, capsaicin. It's one of the two. It's. I
learnt that word from Now Red.
It's really fun just having all that torque, because my car's got 147 brake horsepower. It's front wheel drive because it's going on the road. It's just going on the road, and it's just going to be doing normal car speeds.
Yeah.
I largely abide by speed limit. I mean, I do abide by speed limits because there's no point in going over it. It's like, well, let's be safe here. They're probably, when you assess the hazards, you go, right, that speed limit's there for a reason. Sometimes if you go to Wales, it's a bit absurd, but you don't want to get stung, so you just sort of behave yourself. So getting up to a ridiculous speed or having a ridiculous top speed is irrelevant. Getting up to 30 miles an hour, that's where it counts.
Yeah, 100%. And that like what you've just said there is bang on the money. Like my car, it's technically stage 2, but kind of stage 1. Stages are a myth, but it's over 500 brake horsepower, and I honestly cannot tell. In fact, the last time that I used any of that horsepower is when I sent you a video of me. Yeah,
you're not getting to the RPM at which that horsepower is measured.
Exactly.
So you're probably using about 100.
But also the amount of like phone calls I have, whether it be for stuff with YouTube or stuff outside of YouTube, I spend a lot of my time in eco mode, so the car's quiet, doing in cruise control at 60 miles an hour, not doing anything. So like my car is wasted on me.
Yeah, I suppose, but I mean, it's the type of thing that you'd enjoy maybe once in a while, and then realise that you're driving some premium stuff. And there's something nice about having a nice car. But I personally just want something that works.
Yeah.
And that's what drew me towards what I drive now. It's, obviously most people use them as taxis, I think. I don't think, or fleet cars, because indeed they don't really, there's nothing to break. It's a diesel engine made by French people. It's not going to go wrong.
Well, the main problem I have is like what we discussed the other day. Like I took a finance deal out of my car when the market was great, but my car has dropped in depreciation massively. So I can't. If I sell my car,
you still owe
my
money.
Finance company. Yeah, I still owe money. I've made money on nearly every car I've had because I've been really good at when I buy and when I sell. But this is the one car that I can't get rid of. I don't want it. I can't afford it. I'm in this weird situation where I've got something that's excessive when I don't want it, don't need it. Do you know what the biggest killer? It's not even the finance, it's the insurance. My insurance has gone up 6 times the amount in the past 12 months.
Yeah, it's absurd. And I mean, I avoid financing cars, so I get one that's pre-owned by some way. Mine was 5 years old when I bought it, and it was 5 years old when I bought it, nearly. No, hang on. It was nearly 6 years old when I bought it, basically. So it had just turned 5, it was approaching the 6, and it had, depreciated from whatever a Ford Mondeo Mark V would have been new, which I can't imagine was hugely expensive, to a price point I could just afford to pay outright. I know dealers aren't fond of when you're not financing cars. You ask them, do they finance their cars, and they'll tell you no. So
this is the thing that annoyed me as well, because my car was 5 years old when I bought it as well. No, for nearly 5 years. It was like 4 years and 9 months old when I bought it. So I was under the assumption that all of the depreciation would be taken out of it. It was 80 grand new. I bought it just under 40. And the predicted value after 12 months was 36. So I thought, right, so I'll lose
a grand a quarter.
A grand a quarter, which is not great, but it's also, for the car it's also not the end of the world.
To be fair, it's not even a grand a quarter. It's probably just a grand for the issuing of the V5.
Exactly.
It loses a lot of its value on the fact that somebody else is buying it.
Yes, exactly. Having that extra owner makes the difference. But like I was like, because I study the car markets when I buy cars, I look at the residuals over 5 years, and my car now, if I was to sell my car, my engine is worth more than my car. If I was to buy my engine separately, it's worth more than my car's worth.
Why don't you sell your engine?
Well, because it's on finance, I can't part it out. If I owned the car outright, I would genuinely, tomorrow, I'd pull the car into like a mate's garage, and I'd sell the bonnet, I'd sell the interior, I'd sell the engine, and I'd probably clear 50 grand in parts.
Cars are really funny because the complete thing is worth less than the parts that make it.
It's ridiculous. Like I looked at, like my engine's worth 800 quid more than my car's worth. So my engine's worth 19 grand, and we buy any car from me 18 for the car.
Bloody hell, that is a hell of a loss, because you can't have owned it long.
No, I've owned it for 13 months now.
That's a fuckery is what that is, because it's just halved in value.
Yeah, so I've even spoken to the finance company saying, look, something's gone horribly wrong here, because even after the end of a 4-year finance deal, I'll still be in negative equity, which you should be in positive equity after 2 years.
Yeah, it's a bit... Yeah,
I'm hoping that the market bounces back, because like 3 years ago, my car was worth 58. 2 years ago, my car was worth 44.
Yeah, but how many miles do you put on it? Like, surely
I've put 4,000 on it.
Yeah, that's
it's on
really
30,000
low mileage.
It's on 29,800 miles at the moment.
Mm.
And the original owner was the dealership.
I always look at cars around the expected mileage. So a 5-year-old car, I want something that's at about 60,000 miles.
Yeah, so 12k a year.
A 10-year-old car, if I was buying a 10-year-old car, I want it to have about 100 to 120,000 miles, because although it sounds like a bad idea to buy a car with high mileage, look, it's done the miles. Like, so anything that's gone wrong in that time has probably been fixed.
Gone wrong already. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's clearly proven that it can do miles because it has indeed done them. As long as the bodywork's okay. The engine, that's not a problem. Anything wrong with the engine you can fix, usually, unless it's like a head gasket in most situations or something like that. There are many things that aren't
timing
likely.
timing chains or timing belts are usually done at 100k anyway. So if someone was to say, should I buy a car at 90k or 110, 110.
110, 100%. It doesn't guarantee that the job's been done, but it also doesn't guarantee. But also being around that mileage doesn't guarantee that it needs to, because the chain shouldn't realistically go wrong. The belt will be done. The chain not necessarily, because they're supposed to last the lifetime of the vehicle. So they don't have a specific mileage. They say around that time just so that they give you an interval. Because with a lot of parts that can indeed expire, they give you an interval.
But also a lot of manufacturers now, they'll have the guide rails on the chain, so all they've got to do is tighten up the guide rails, tighten up the chain.
Yeah,
like
because a chain, you don't want the chain to sort of stop.
If it stops or snaps, your engine's kaput.
But it's the same with a belt.
Yeah.
Except you also have to worry about jumping with some belts as well. So yeah, I mean, I always look for a chain engine as well. So
yeah, 100%.
So buying a Ford from 2017 was a bit of a gamble because they usually
but when a chain's gonna go, it starts to rattle. So you have some telltale signs. With a belt, it's just like it's there 1 minute and the next minute it's not.
Yeah, usually I think Ford opt for wet belts these days, but that one's got a chain in it. So I don't know if somebody's gone through the hassle of changing the timing assembly, which doesn't make any sense, or if they just did those engines with a belt, with a chain. Sorry,
they might have done them with a chain, like because chains, like the good thing about the chains is once again they're not susceptible to the environment. Like they need to be oiled, but usually they pick oil from the oil pan, so you're not like. I had a BMW, like my E93 BMW 3 Series. That I bought that in 2016. It was 5 years old at the time. It was 4 years old at the time. It was a 2012 car.
Yeah.
And that I bought the car on 94,000 miles, and I sold it on 120,000 miles. And the only thing that needed to, I had it inspected by BMW as well, main dealer service. And the only thing that needed to be done was literally an alternator pulley, which had perished. And that was 60 quid. And that car, I know the guy that bought that car, and it's still running today on 205,000 miles.
That's fantastic. I like a car that can do miles. That's why I look at a car and go, can it handle a mileage?
He's had to change the seats. The seats perished before anything in the engine did.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of cars where the engine is the least of your problems.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, bodywork is a big one, especially if you go for a brand that has a reliable engine, like a lot of Japanese cars, specifically, say, older Toyotas and older Nissans and stuff like that. They'll run to the end of time, the engine will, but the bodywork, the actual chassis itself, the suspension components, that's where you're going to notice things going wrong.
Well, that's why every MX-5 I've always bought an import from Japan, because in Japan they
treat them, don't they?
Yeah. My first MX-5, it had some rust holes in it. That was an import, but it wasn't looked after. My second one, my second Mark 1 MX-5, that was a Japanese import. I'd been in the country for about 3 months, and there was not a single bit of rust. It hadn't even been undersealed because it didn't need to be.
An MX-5 without any rust on it is oh my god.
Yeah, do you want to hear the worst bit? What's
that?
I bought it for 750 quid. I sold it for 800 quid. And I saw it about a year ago on Facebook Marketplace up for £5,700. And it was
because of the body condition, or do you reckon that will probably be gone now as well?
It's the appreciation. The Mark 1 MX-5s have just gone up.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, it's a Mark 1, is it?
Yeah, it was a Mark. I've only ever owned Mark 1s because I love the pop-up headlights. Yeah,
the only MX-5, I've never driven an MX-5. I've only ever been in one, and it was a Mark 3, so an NC. Is that right?
NC.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got NAs, NBs, and NCs.
And then what's the current one? That's the ND?
ND, but they have the NDRF, current gen MX-5. By the way, any Americans watching, we're talking about Miatas.
Or could it be an E? I don't know. Maybe they skipped.
ND. No, it's ND. ND is 2015 to present. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was right. I'm a clever man. It's an alphabetical thing.
Have you seen the new Mazda MX-5 concept?
I haven't, and
it's an RX concept. Let me send you this.
Oh, is it the RX Vision?
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It's electric, but it's got a rotary to. It's part rotary, part electric.
I'm not anti-EV, but I'm resistant, if that makes sense.
I'm resistant, but I looked at that and I thought, fuck me, take my
you
money.
Look at that and you go, that's not a tricky wank.
No, that's not. That's like Ferrari had a baby with Mazda,
Yeah,
and it was pretty.
Mazda are quite good with their designs anyway of late. They have some really nice looking cars out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a bit long in the front, so it goes into a more super sort of category than it perhaps needs to. Because imagine that in the UK. Can you imagine driving that around Devon? Like you wouldn't want to do it. It's the type of car you look at. You go, I can appreciate how that looks in concept, but I would never own one.
Hang on, let me send you something else. This is Toyota. I've sent you a link. Toyota's new concept. They announced it 4 months ago, and
Toyota
announced...
FT.
Yeah.
Oh god, what the fuck?
I love it.
It looks like steering yoke, that would put me off pretty quick, to be fair.
Yeah, the steering yoke I'm not a fan of, but the interior, the seats and everything, I think they've absolutely smashed it out of the park with minimalist.
And they've not even I mean, it's a concept, it's not even like a real thing, so it's probably not vastly different.
Since this, they've done a production model.
I'd imagine if they were to sell that in the UK, they'd give it a steering wheel.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't think yokes sell in the UK, do they?
No, they don't. I don't even think the Tesla Plaid, whatever it's called, I don't even think that has the yoke.
No.
But they've made production versions of this now, and it's going on sale next year.
And does it have the yoke or a wheel?
With a wheel.
Yeah, that's what you want. The idea of a steering yoke around town is lost on me. This concept car, if they put it into production with an actual steering wheel, yeah, I could see it as a nice thing to drive around. Perhaps
it's definitely the best thing. It's the best looking thing Toyota have designed in a long time.
Yes, my favourite thing Toyota has designed ever is probably like the Land Cruiser. It's not a look thing. Yeah. It's just that is a car won't break. You look at it and you go, right, you look a little bit hard wearing. You look fine.
I think the best generation of Land Cruiser was like 2012 to 2016. What I want to know is what happens when a Tesla Cybertruck hits a Tesla Cybertruck.
It's an unstoppable force meets an unstoppable force, isn't it?
I reckon the world will end if that happened.
I don't know. Somebody needs to buy 2 of them. Some massive, company needs to buy 2 of them and conduct some investigative journalism by dropping a brick on each pedal and running away.
Well, you know what? Because obviously everyone thinks that we're multi-millionaires from YouTube. We can just do that.
Yeah, exactly. We can imagine it, and then we can pretend we delivered the results.
Exactly.
We can use AI video to make it look real.
I'll try and do it in Beam. I'll do it in Beam NG.
Beam NG. And we'll see what happens. We need to know what would happen if a Cybertruck hit a Cybertruck. That is genuinely interesting. It's like, which one would take the damage? This is the
Cybertruck would.
This is the Volvo dilemma, but again,
Swedish tanks.
So that's how I describe that. The Volvo dilemma is how I describe it. 2 cars that are just tanks hitting each other. So
I'm currently looking at some pictures of a 2024 on Toyota Land Cruiser.
Have we just invented a new test that we'll call the Volvo dilemma test?
I think we have. I think we should put it into practice.
Yes. Everybody put the Volvo dilemma test into your vocabulary. Coming to a mad scientist somewhere eventually. People who haven't quite figured out that buying new cars is ill-advised.
Yeah. The only good time is to acquire a new car, at the very least, is when you're doing it through a lease and it's a tax write-off because it's exactly for work. That's the only time it would make sense. And for that to make sense, you've got to be earning over 100 grand a year. That's the only time where it's more logical because you don't own a depreciating asset. But at the same time, it's still not as good as buying a 5-year-old vehicle outright without finance and then taking the risk of it depreciating. Obviously, for me, if I bought my car outright, I'd still be screwed. But for the most part, I'm an anomaly. My situation with my car is obviously affecting a lot of people at the moment that have bought similar vehicles in the UK. But that's throughout history, that's not what happens. In normal circumstances, I would have lost between 3 and 5 grand over the ownership of my car. And it would be for the vehicle it would be an absorbable loss over a year. But instead I've lost nearly 20 grand.
Because you're in negative equity because you've lost more value on the car than money you've paid back on the loan.
Exactly.
So yeah, that is a bit of a...
It sucks so much as well, because I genuinely right now, if I had the choice to just walk away from my car and go out and buy a £500 shit box, I would do it in a heartbeat. If someone stole my car now, I would get a 20,000 payout from the insurance, and I'd get a 20,000 payout from my gap insurance up to the original invoice value. So I'd be 40 grand. Actually, no, because I still have to pay for the finance, but I'd be 15 grand better off, and I could pay for a deposit on a new rental for a house. I can go out and buy a shit car, pay my insurance up in full for the year on a new vehicle, and I can also put some money in my savings.
Yeah.
But Instead, I'm stuck in debt for the next 2 years. I think, so I'm at the moment, so a lot of people will notice this who watch my videos, I'm taking a lot of sponsorship, and I'll be brutally honest, I will never promote a product I don't believe in, so I do actually like the companies I'm promoting, as I've mentioned, like I do actually use their products, but every single penny that I'm getting from sponsorships at the moment, I'm putting into a separate bank account, so I can literally pay off my deficit of the car, so I can get that car gone. So everything after that is savings for a house to invest back into the channel. I made a financial mistake, and I'm not ashamed of it. That's why I'm talking about it. It's like,
we all make financial mistakes at one point or another. For me, it was not committing tax evasion.
Yeah, I was going to say, defraud the government merch coming soon.
Defraud the government. Rishi Sunak's not going to notice.
No, exactly. He's not going to notice.
He's not going to miss it.
He's not.
Oh no, I have to tax my wife. What a shame.
So when previously I was an editor, obviously based on the car I bought, I was doing okay for myself. Like everything was fine, but I paid so much in tax. And then when it came to, I asked, it was about 2 years ago, I asked, that was a government startup scheme for small businesses, and I wanted to start up a creator collective, which is basically a big network for YouTubers to have everything dealt with in one place, from their merch to their to all of their stuff, which is obviously what I've spoke to you about before.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have this big thing, and all I wanted for this government incentive, they were offering £25,000 to each business, and I wanted £1,000 to help start this business. And it all comes out of basically the public tax fund for creatives, and I'd paid about £30,000 into this tax fund, and I asked for £1,000 back to help with this initiative, and they said that I don't meet the criteria because I haven't been paying tax long enough. And I'm like, what? What? It's ridiculous. And in the end, one of my friends applied for it, and he got a grant to start up a media company, and he got the grant, and then he literally sacked off the business 2 days later and just kept the money.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so easy to sort of trick a government that isn't paying as much attention as you expect them to. There's a lot of things that the government just expects you to conform to without actually checking that you actually are. So you can get away with a lot of things that probably aren't ethically advised. But I mean, if I'm being serious, I'm quite happy to pay my fair share in tax. That's part of the buy. I'm okay.
That's the same thing for me. It's like I've always paid my tax, and at the end of the day, I know we get the NHS, which how good it is up for debate, but we all pay into it and we all contribute.
But in the event that somebody drops a brick on you or runs you over, you're
I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not for if. I mean, it's great that it's there if you get a bit unwell and you have time to sort of deal with it. But I mean, if it's an emergency, you're going to get sorted out. That's sort of the main thing.
100%.
Whether or not that actually holds true for very long, I don't know. But I don't think
the only bad experience with the NHS I had is I broke my arm and had to wait in their waiting room.
Yeah, but that's just a bad
hours.
experience in general. I don't think there's any world in which you would have come away from that really chuffed that you broke your arm.
No, of course.
I'm glad I broke my arm because this experience was lovely. I
think what sucked is because my arm, it was at right angles. It was bad, and I went into the hospital and I had to wait for 9 hours. Because loads of other people were being seen to, and the person that was sat next to me, obviously I got talking to them with my arm hanging between my legs, and they were in because they've had bad migraines for 2 days, and I get it could be serious, but please can I get my arm in a cast first?
Yeah, it's like, please, can somebody set my arm?
Yeah, so it stopped because I literally, like, after like 9 hours, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's healed in the wrong place now.
Yeah, it's.
But that being said, I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, I would, but like I wouldn't have
I
it
would
like
have
the
it
US.
another way, just not necessarily. Not necessarily. I don't necessarily think that the premise is bad of the NHS. I just think the situation we're in is bad.
Yeah, I think it's like what some other things that we spoke about, where the ideas and concepts behind it work really well, but when put into practice, it needs work. But that being said, it can get better. It can also get worse, but it's also a lot better than anywhere else in the world. A lot of countries out there, of course, have no medical care, and you know, like what we're complaining about is very first world, isn't it?
Very, yeah. Like, yeah, we're in a fortunate position. We still are, and I don't think there's anything that can sort of rattle that too badly. I just think genuinely it's a comparative situation. There is a situation, and it will be dealt with. It's just a case of when. Things always
when
rebound,
and which government.
though. Things do rebound. It's not a hyperinflation situation where the economy is literally dying. It's a situation that occurs on more or less like clockwork. Well,
that's something else as well. So we're in a kind of recession at the moment, but at the same time, like, a lot of people say it's a bad thing, and yes, it is. Like, a lot of people's lives are being affected.
But wait until it ends. You're like, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, like, but at the same time, we kind of need it to an extent because 40 years ago, the average cost of a house was 2 times your annual salary. Now the average cost of a house is 8 times annual salary. We're at a period now where people literally cannot buy houses. Like, there's generations now that will never own a home, and we do need the market to reset, and it will screw over a lot of people. But at the same time, like, where I live now, the house I'm in, the landlords have sold this house. So obviously that's why I'm moving out and moving house. But this house was £2,000 in 1960. Now it's up for over £500,000 for sale.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Like, that's ridiculous. And houses shouldn't, like, it's not a massive house. It's not a small house. But like, at the end of the day, I'm a tenant renting. But houses have just got so unaffordable. Like, for example, I went to Norway last year and the year. Well, I used to go to Norway quite a bit, and there's houses there which are like 3-bedroom houses for like $100,000, and it's like you'd never see that in the UK now. Like a 1-bedroom, sorry, a 3-bedroom, sorry, a 1-bedroom flat is about £170,000.
Yeah, it really depends on your location as well.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, in Burnley, you're gonna find some cheap gaffs.
Yeah, you're gonna get some stonking deals there. But...
Yeah, but that's because nobody wants to live in Burnley, really.
But obviously, I live in Huddersfield.
Oh yeah, is it good up there? Good up there in deep Yorkshire.
No. I live in Huddersfield, South Wales.
Huddersfield, South Wales. Is that what that is?
Yeah. It's right next to Sheffield in Scotland.
Oh, right, okay. See, now I'm googling where Huddersfield is. It is where I thought it was.
Yeah. It's in South Wales, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's in South Wales. It's not far from my favourite South Welsh town, Dublin.
Yeah, actually, that's a really nice, great ice cream.
Honestly, I thought. Yeah, honestly, you are a resident of the village of Huddersfield, South Wales, near the mighty town of Dublin, South Wales, which is also in South Wales. And up the road from that, you've got Madrid, South Wales. So you got your prime location. That. Oh god, we're going to confuse Americans who don't know where those places actually are. But I mean, I threw Madrid in there to make it obvious.
Americans, if you don't know where it is, just search for the M25.
The M25.
it's just
if you search the M25 on Google Maps and you live in the UK, you just get the broad postcode region, which isn't far from where I live.
Yeah.
The M25, but M25 motorway, it circles Huddersfield, South Wales, I promise.
yeah, and actually it's just the M25 is just south of Portsmouth.
Just south of Pompey.
Yeah, just south of Pompey, And then, in fact, if you go just
I love how you chose somewhere that there is nothing south of.
Yeah, and if you go past the John O'Groats, which is just underneath it,
exactly.
And then and then actually, there's a really nice place at the very north of the map called the Isle of Wight.
Oh yeah, there you go. The Isle of Wight is at the north, is it?
Yeah, it's just off the coast of the Faroe Islands.
Yeah, you know, in this fantasy world that we've created, where every town name is in a different place, I just imagine that Plymouth is in the exact same location as it was the last time. You know, and it's just where Plymouth usually is.
There's a lot of games now that have just died. Like, there's so many good games that I enjoyed playing as a kid that just don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
Club Penguin. Club Penguin was up where it was at.
Yeah, Club Penguin was a game that they killed off when it was actually still quite popular.
Yeah, the only thing is people were using it as a like, terrorists were actually using it as a way to communicate.
Terrorists were using it.
Yeah, Al Qaeda used Club Penguin
to communicate.
Yeah.
Or to radicalise. Which was it?
And have you ever seen a radicalised penguin? Fucking fierce.
I have a feeling somewhere out there somebody's radicalised a penguin. Oh my god, is that what happened when you type in radical penguin?
Yeah.
My god, somebody's gone through effort to make that. That is a penguin.
Someone has finished work one day, got home in the evening and thought, you know what I'm going to do tonight?
Honestly, I've got a mate who works a perfectly normal job in which he's trusted with some responsibilities. We jump on a Discord call every so often, and he's there talking about the fact that, okay, he was in chat, and I was talking about a bit, he was in chat, and I was talking about him a bit yesterday on stream. He's forklift certified. He's also certified to operate a hoist. He's also an ordained minister in the state of Texas. He's never been there. He's from the UK. And he's got a bunch of other certifications and qualifications that make no sense when put together. And that's because half of it's because he jumps between jobs a fair whack, because that's just the nature of what he does. But it's also because he likes collecting these really absurd, peculiar certifications like they're Pokemon. And one thing that he always does, you know, if you jump into a Discord call with him or whatever, you can't have a normal conversation with him. It devolves too quickly.
Yeah.
So you'll be talking about you'll immediately be talking about absolute bollocks. And we have running jokes. So we decided one day that every part of a car is named what it is named because it's after the inventor of that part of the car. So we created an entire lore around this character named John SEATBELT, the inventor of the seatbelt. And then we just started riffing off of each other with the names of other inventors of other parts of the car. And there were a few, like Gary Engine and stuff like that. And honestly, after a bit, the one that broke us was I said Philip Paint, and Philip Paint has stuck with us. Yeah, and it's just stupid stuff like that. But the thing is, he create lore about it. You know, like John Seatbelt staged a coup or something along those lines. It was honestly absurd. It was going to establish a new world order. And things like that. And genuinely, I don't know where he finds these like ideas. But to be fair, this stupid conversation started with me. But we ran away with it, and John Seatbelt was the result. And the reason why, I'll tell you where John Seatbelt originated from. Is I was streaming Grand Theft Auto 4, and when you crash a car, you get launched through the windscreen.
Oh yeah, you go flying.
And I thought to myself, has nobody heard of the seatbelt? Has nobody looked at it in the GTA universe and gone, hey, that might be useful to have on? So I said, maybe the seatbelt doesn't exist in the GTA universe. It needs to be invented by a man named John Seatbelt. And so John Seatbelt is a canon GTA character, in my opinion.
I fuck with it.
In fact, the only time a seatbelt is ever mentioned in the Grand Theft Auto series is in 5, so it's entirely possible that John Seatbelt was cooking during Nico Bellic's rampage in Liberty City. So hopefully, John Seatbelt will make a cameo in GTA 6.
John Seatbelt.
I know, it's just so dumb. It's just...
I love it.
If you put John before anything, it just sounds like the most absurd thing possible. So, like, the PlayStation was invented by John PlayStation. No, it wasn't. But
It's weird as well, because obviously my name is John.
Exactly, Patrick. Your name's John.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers, Steve. Gerald.
Oh, we should tell Craig about this.
Yeah, you just got a load of personalities in there. So you don't even have to worry at this point. You could dox your identity and people will just go, which one's that?
Yeah, the more confusion I make, the better it is.
Smoke and mirrors.
Literally, it's smoke and mirrors. It's exactly what I've been saying for years, Keith, and people just won't buy into it.
At some point, we'll have to throw your real name in there as a fake name as part of this joke to make it seem like it's not your real name.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
It's a terrible idea because it can backfire really badly. But as long as we go, right, your name is not Dave, we're okay.
Yeah, but that is my name, so what if people start thinking my name's not actually really Dave, but it is Dave?
It could be Mohammed, but we could go with Mohammed.
I mean, it's not very likely, but maybe it is.
People think they see aliens in America like every other week. I think it's on the scale of believability. It's not at the bottom of the end of the scale where things aren't where things are entirely unbelievable, but it's not at the top end either where people go, yeah, that's believable. That's that track.
Do you know what, Paul? You make a really good point.
Oh, exactly. Everyone knows my actual name though, so this is wasted on me.
You put it at the start of your videos as well, so it's not even useful.
Yeah, people know my first name and my surname, and my identity's out there for people to find out.
Yeah, but
who I am,
no one really knows that your name is pronounced Ethan.
Yeah, exactly. That one. Well, I love throwing people off. But no, I've just manoeuvred myself into a position where most people don't actually care. So I'm quite happy with that. It does take one weirdo, I'll give you that. But
the problem I've got is, so I wanted to make my name and my identity not part of my thing, and that's why the mask, but I also wanted to include camera work into my videos.
So you had to tap into your knowledge of balaclavas courtesy of that Secret Life of Crime of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I understand 110%.
The problem is, it's made people now more curious to who I am. So it's
but that's a great marketing exercise. You just need to make sure you don't give anything away. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Do you know how hard it is to like when I screen record anything on my computer? I now have a totally separate login under the name Cyberboy on all of my devices. I'm totally separate in everything I do. And like, it's so mad that I've had to delete every social media, like every footprint of me of the internet to do this. Yeah. And like, it sounds radical and extreme, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, to protect my identity, it's got to be done. The only people that know my real name is, well, you, Project Vice, Jetro, Justin, and my sponsors. Yeah. Because obviously I have signed contracts. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a secret I will take to the grave. So,
to be honest, I'm fully aware that like at some point in the next probably like 2 or 3 years, my name will end up on an article. I know people that are like more secretive than me, that their name is publicly available out there, but like people just don't look into it. But yeah. I know that it's going to come out at some point. Like, of course it will.
Yeah, quite possibly. But I won't be the angle it comes out from, Charlie.
Yeah. Dude, you can't say my name.
Oh no, I apologise, Robert.
At any point during this, we could have actually said my real name and no one would know.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we did. Go and find it. Have a guess.
Yeah, have a guess. Do you know what? The closest person to my name in the comments, I'll do a face reveal. I'm joking.
Pin the comment of whoever gets it.
Do you know what's funny?
First.
So I've got my pinned video. My pinned video on my channel is like why I wear a mask, just because it obviously answers a lot of questions in one go. And in that video, I explicitly state like 5 times I'm never doing a face reveal. Like some of the most frequent comments I get on that video is why won't you do a face reveal? And I'm like, I've literally just spent fucking 6 minutes in a video explaining it. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, don't want to usually sums it up. So I don't really want to, you know, like that's all the information you owe.
A lot of people think that there's a certain subscriber number linked to what
I'll tell you what, I can one up knowing your name. I've also seen your face.
You've seen my face, and you've also seen my balls.
And I'm still alive, so that is. I'll have to. But you know a lot about me, so I mean,
yeah, of course.
You could just send someone to take me out at any time.
Are you asking me out on a date? It's a weird time to ask, dude.
You could, if you insist. But...
no, right. We can have a curry, but I'm having a korma. Okay, we've discussed this.
Okay, right. I will opt for the bastard spicy option, whatever that winds up being. Usually, it varies from place to place. So, for example, some places don't do very spicy vindaloos, and that kind of defeats the point.
But like it's so weird though that like in my attempt to stay anonymous, it's not like there's now like discussions. There's a few websites out there that have tried to discuss my identity, and bearing in mind I've only got 16k subs. Like what that is really, we don't know. But like it's so weird that at this point, already this early on, like there's already a thing, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of people said, you know, how many subscribers to show your face, and you know what? It might be one day I might be in a position where I can afford my own house with security or whatever it might be, and I might feel safe enough to want to do that. But I've been on the other end of seeing how destructive one weirdo can be. So and also as well, obviously I have a partner. I have other responsibilities other than myself.
You got people to consider.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's I will say negative outcomes from people knowing who you are highly unlikely.
Yeah, of course.
But it's always a possibility.
A lot of people say, well, you've only you don't even have any subscribers. Why being anonymous? But everyone that is anonymous on YouTube at some point had no subscribers.
It actually probably gets a little bit better when you have a fair following versus a niche following.
Yeah.
Because the weirdos feel they can communicate on a closer level at the smaller following, but as long as you're open when you've got a larger following and you're still open to communicating with your viewer, then you're not going to lose that ability to communicate with everybody. But you certainly can pick and choose a bit more whose parasocial relationship with you feed. But
that's what I like as well about the audience that I've built up so far.
Yeah, they're very anti-parasocial, which is good.
Yeah, like my audience I've built up so far, I know their names. Like if I see them comment on a chat on YouTube, I know who they are. So like even when I have 1 million subscribers, I'll still know who those original lot are, and I know which ones I've had further conversation with. So I can, when I start seeing names I've never heard of saying things I don't like, I can very easily go, right, well, I'm not going to respond to that. That's not my prerogative, and it's not my place to do so. Whereas like the small audience I have now, my Discord mods, like they're the people that I trust within a certain realm of cool. I know what their intentions are here for, like they're just really cool people.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I still recognize people when they come into the chat,
I noticed yesterday.
I've not streamed in like 3 months. People came into the chat and I remembered a lot of the names. There are some that I may have forgotten, but when people come in, I usually sort of see their name and go, yes, I know you. You've been here before. You're back. You've returned. You like me. And when somebody says I'm new here, I'm usually the only way I can tell if somebody's new in the chat. But I do try and engage with as many people as possible.
Yes.
And sometimes people comment some strange stuff, but they mean it more as a joking way. But there's no way of telling the difference between that and somebody who might actually be saying it really strange, coming from a really strange place. But usually I just try to interact with people, not fleetingly, but as I go along and answering questions and communicating with the viewer. And I haven't encountered any strange people outside my house yet. Yet. I'm sure by my time somebody will show up and be promptly chinned. That's a warning shot. Somebody comes to my house and says, "Are you FIZHY from YouTube?" They are getting smacked.
But this is the thing, like as well. It's like a lot of people will watch like 1,000 hours of my content, or whatever it might be. Like they'll watch all. I've got like 200 videos up. They'll watch all of them. They'll see all my second channel content, and they've got to remember, just because they know me and they've seen me, I don't know them. So like when someone messages me like with quite an open-ended question, and I'm not really sure what narrative they're coming from, I don't mean to be standoffish. It's just you know more about me than I know about you, so that already there's a power imbalance.
You've got to gauge unlimited information, and it's the same. It's the same with me. I don't. I think I do quite well in avoiding being standoffish these days with the viewer, and with people who reach out, especially on like Instagram, which is linked, so they can do that. Or if they send me an email, I'm perfectly happy to respond. I don't think I've mastered it by any stretch, but I think I've got to a point where I've come along this journey far enough to go, yeah, I sort of know how to respond to it. and how not to. And it's more important to know how not to respond than it is to necessarily know how to respond. So I just sort of like, I'll entertain the back and forth for a little bit, and I'll sort of just hopefully satisfy their question and then sort of close out the conversation myself, because it feels more polite than leaving somebody on red.
I think one of the things I've really struggled with is because I like a lot of comments on my videos I ignore because I either haven't seen them or that they're asking a very long-winded question that I've already explained in a previous video, and obviously I can't spend all day replying to comments. There's too many.
After the first day or two, I sort of like cease reading comments. I'll scroll through them every now and then, but I know that after the first 2 days, your core audience has already seen it, and now the video's in the wild, and so any comment can be taken with like a pinch of salt, really, because people will be coming from all angles. They'll be coming from all angles with different perspectives on things that you're just not necessarily even subscribing to as a way of thinking. So it can be really upsetting to read criticisms you don't actually agree with. And though I'll still see them sometimes, because I'm not against criticism, constructive at least. If it's just saying something critical for the sake of saying it, and you don't really explain how something can be better, it's a little bit harder to gauge how I'm supposed to take that on the chin and make something out of it. But there are times where I will read the comments and go, oh, that's nice, that does the trick. That is something I can actually factor into my content, because I agree with the point made. And then there are others where I look at it and go, I don't know why you're criticizing my use of music in my mystery videos, because the entire point is the atmosphere I'm creating. You can't really do that. You can't set yourself apart from, guides and just random commentaries on gameplay if you're not using sound design.
A lot of people will leave a comment or a criticism that's like, basically they want me to be more like someone else's channel, where it's like,
exactly,
that's not, at the end of the day, our channels are our channels, because it's, even though it seems like we're just doing, for me, a news video, or for you, a commentary piece on something, an event or a thing within Red Dead Redemption or GTA, for example, it's not that. This is a form of expression for us, and the way that we express ourselves is very different from each other.
It's a window into how we think.
Yes.
And I'd rather be true to that than try to read the mind of somebody I don't know. Yeah. And that's the truth. So unless you can, unless a comment is explaining how something could be done better based on the vision that I'm actually going for, I can't really do much with it, because I don't discard it. I do appreciate the comment either way. I do bear in mind what people want, but I have to balance that and apply it to the direction I'm actually trying to go in.
Yeah, and I see as well, like, a lot of the comments I get that aren't constructive, or they are hateful, like, in my first couple of months of being on the platform, I've responded to them, and what I realized very quickly is a lot of these people just want to be heard. Like, they'll say something quite hateful or angry, and when you reply, they'll be like, oh, thank you so much for replying, like, I'm a big fan. And I'm like, hang on a second.
It's important to not take it too personally, because they don't mean it how it comes across.
No, of course.
99% of the
that's
time.
something I'm learning now. As I think the few times I have been exposed to the extreme end of it is, like, last week I had someone that repeatedly kept commenting on my video, and I didn't see it because I have a life. And then they ended up actually, because my email address that's linked to my account on YouTube is not my email address, it's my manager's email address, so it's business only, and obviously they have to fill out the captcha before they see the email address. And then my manager just sent me a message saying, could you tell your audience to not email this email address? And the email was hateful as fuck, and I was like, what drives someone to not get a reply for like 3 hours and to spew out this venom over your email? And this is what makes me so glad I don't show my face and I don't say my name, and because I can, like, finish making a video, upload it, and then go for a walk if I want to clear my head, and no one will ever know. I've been recognized once, which was from a hoodie, but that was a really wholesome interaction and I'm cool with it. But I'm still obviously weary of the fact that there are some people out there that aren't okay.
There are some people out there who aren't all right. But the problem is, and I understand why that would raise alarm bells and make you think I'm glad I don't show my face, and it's fair reasoning. But the people who are usually the worst, they don't show their venom until you really are in a situation where it is dangerous.
I think it's a factor of, there's just some people out there that, like, also a lot of people. I mean, when I was young, I probably said some things that are online that
there's a lot of young people online, yeah,
and also as well, like, I think it's different for us because we grew up when internet was in its infancy. Like, us growing up was like, we had the first wave of like MSN Messenger and stuff. Like, we had that first wave of internet, and we managed to get all of our experimental being online phase out the way relatively early, whereas kids now are being brought up and the first phone they have is an iPhone 13.
Yeah, and the internet has already developed to a point where what you say, what you do on it becomes immortalized one way or another and can affect you at any time in the future. You cannot insulate yourself from the inevitability of the internet and what and your actions on it. Eventually something's going to crop up, and I'm sure it'll happen for me at some point. I'm sure it'll happen for everyone else, where something gets taken the wrong way in advance in a context that I wasn't even aware of when I said the thing, or maybe I was and I was too stupid to realize that that's not really how I think. And honestly, I don't dread that day, because I can just go, yeah, that's not how I think now. Think of that, take that as you will, it doesn't matter. Because I know that I'm in a position where I can do that, because my entire online identity is almost framed around the idea of I don't really subscribe to particular, to the what everybody seems to be repeating, like echoing around on one end of a spectrum or another, and that sort of creates a space where that problem isn't so prevalent. I'm sure there are characters who fit either bill, but they work because of how I frame it, that they don't really clash too much, at least not with me. But I'm not afraid of calling out the ridiculousness of the internet, and that I suppose that in itself puts me in a position where anything that might inevitably happen, people go, that's just fishy though. Like. But
this is why, like, I make Grand Theft Auto content, but like, I obviously every now and again I pop up a new video which is completely not related, that usually consists of a lot of my opinions, whether it be like political or whatever. But I feel personally, and I could be wrong about this, of course, and I'll throw my hands up and say I'm wrong, but I feel like it's good for me in some respects to make it clear about how I feel about certain things, and a bit more about where I sit in terms of different things, whether it be like fair use policy on YouTube, whatever, because I feel like having those little snippets of me up on my channel mean that from day one, I've made my opinions clear, and if those opinions should ever change, I can update them, because people are obviously watching me 90% for GTA content, but I do have a core audience that do just like the videos I make, and I feel like I'm doing them a disservice by not showing. Obviously I hide my face and I hide my name, but everything that people hear from me is me. It's my true self.
Yeah, no, of course you've got to be yourself, and you're probably more genuine as a result of the fact that you have the mask, because you don't have to pander to anybody.
I don't have to look pretty.
Well, that's not what I mean by pander, but I mean, yeah, I suppose you don't. You could be horribly disfigured under there, and we'll never know.
Exactly.
I'll know. You've got some right shiners. You've got scars galore. You're absolutely cut up.
You told me you like them rough.
I like them rough, and I also like the shrapnel. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, I need to get that bullet out.
Yeah, no, man. I keep dreaming about the landmines. No, but I mean, it's certainly good to be able to be genuine with your audience and say, right, I'm gonna give you me, and I do that by, I don't really share my political views, because I'm I'm not interested in that conversation in
Yeah.
what I do. I'm more interested in the conversation of this is a cool mystery. Let's explore it together. Because that is me. I love investigating these things, and investigating may be a strong word, but I love looking into and exploring things. And exploring is genuinely great fun, and that's not necessarily just exploring that. It's exploring what I can do with editing software, with the camera on the history front, or that again, the camera, but when applied to a different context, like cars and things like that I'm helping with Kai. And genuinely, it brings me joy to be able to create, and that is me. That is what I do. I like creating, and that's just how I go about it. And I don't take negative comments too personally these days, because I know that most people who say something that comes across as really scathing or really venomous, they don't mean it in such a way that it that it's meant to be taken as a personal attack. Sometimes they do, but then you've got to remember that when you're on the internet and you're interacting with people, especially on platforms like, say, Twitter, the comment section on YouTube, or like Instagram or whatever, if people argue on Instagram, I don't know. But you're not really interacting with a person, you're interacting with what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's not a social thing. Social media isn't social. You're interacting with words. You're not actually talking.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of nuance and a lot of personal gauging that's not occurring there. So the back and forth you have with somebody in a spat on Twitter doesn't necessarily mean that you wouldn't get along in real life. It just means that unfortunately you met on Twitter first. And so the interaction you have is shaped by the absence of gauging somebody's personality. So reading something is black and white when it shouldn't be, because it's a nuanced conversation that has no context.
I think as well, there's always that like imbalance with the way that we make content, we put it out there, and obviously every time we do, we're taking a bit of ourselves and just giving it out to the world. And like when someone comments that we don't know who they are, we don't know what their thoughts are, we've just explained what our thoughts are on a topic in a video, so we know what our thoughts are. And you always have that imbalance where like the comment section is never a good place to have an in-depth discussion about stuff. And I'm starting to learn that now. It's like, it doesn't matter what points I make in my videos, like an in-depth discussion in the comment section only works when it's a question being asked first. If someone goes straight with a statement, which is, you're wrong about this, there is usually no benefit to either party to have that conversation there. And I feel like, I feel like we're by us being the original creator of that piece of work and that piece of content that we've put time, effort, attention, and love into, because we do it for the love of the craft, we're already on the back foot, because we have given more than we've got in that circumstance.
Yes,
so
exactly. So you can't
when someone comments, exactly that.
Yeah, but I think now this is the best way to take interactions with words online when somebody's just typing out a comment or something like that. You've got to remember that a key part of human interaction is the human.
Yeah.
And that's removed from that scenario. Yes. Even if in video form you're a disembodied voice, you're not a person in front of somebody having a chat about whatever. And so the conversation can go in a different way, and you're not actually interacting with them, so they're just interacting with what you've said, and they can pick holes in it because they can listen to it again and again and again.
Yes.
And you know, if what you said was, I mean, it's such a strange thing to dissect what somebody says again and again and again, because it doesn't necessarily translate to what they're trying to get across. So people will pick up on things you've said and interpret a meaning you didn't apply.
So that's the thing as well. When
so you don't like this, I never said that.
When someone repeats something you say in a video but types it out, there is no expression. There is no, like, for example, we know what each other's saying in the way that we phrase a sentence, not necessarily what we said, but sarcasm and all different things that surround context of language, especially being British, where I think it's for us, British and particularly Australians as well, the phrasing of a sentence completely changes the meaning of it. And obviously it's the same in most languages, but our humour is very different.
Dry.
It's dry. It's very dry. And I've done shots where I'm deadpan. Yeah. And I've done shots where I'm deadpan at the camera saying something and I zoom in a little bit. And that crop is to show a sense of irony or whatever it might be.
It's to draw attention to the center of the frame. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is, right, that I'm putting emphasis on the fact that I've said this in a way to highlight the absence of any other form of emphasis. So
Exactly.
what you're saying, it sounds benign, but it's actually a use of wit. And I love using editing to complement wit. It's good. But nobody online sees who they're interacting with as a human being. So the conversation is abnormal from the start. Obviously, on a Discord call, you're talking to somebody, you're interacting with that person, not just their words, but also the phrasing and so on in an open format.
Yeah.
So between me and you now, this is two human beings that aren't in the same room but still talking. But Twitter conversations, you can only gauge words. In YouTube videos, you're not having a conversation, you're responding to a piece of media that's been produced. And any comment section after follows the same rule as Twitter. So there's no human interaction, there's just word interaction.
We are a victim of the algorithm. So, for example, I may have a really complex view on something, like, for example, a leak that might happen or something to do with GTA 6. My views and opinions on it might be really complex, but I can't explain all of that in full detail in a video whilst keeping it engaging, whilst keeping up retention to the point that it actually does adhere to the algorithm in some sense, whilst making it a good piece of content. So sometimes I will abbreviate a lot of my thoughts and feelings about something and miss out some of the ones that are a bit more nuanced. And for the sake of getting a concise video out there that's informative, and then people will say, well, you haven't mentioned this thing here and you haven't done your research. And I don't respond to that now, because the thing that they're talking about, if I didn't know, I will respond and go, oh, good point. But if it is something I do know, like, at the end of the day, we are making pieces of entertainment to be consumed by people in large numbers, and that is ultimately our goal, is to reach as many people as possible with the thing that we care about. And if something jeopardizes it,
so you sometimes have to get to the point a bit before you feel as if you've... I mean, I'll always take time to frame the point if I can help it. But yeah, you're right. You don't want something to wind up being a 20-minute discussion about a really complex, but in the grand scheme of things, minor point, and then have the rest of the content take up 10 minutes. That would just be ridiculous. It would be a ridiculous... it would be ridiculous in phrasing. It would be ridiculous in framing, and it would be completely and utterly pointless to share because it doesn't entertain. And that is a key function of the content. It's got to entertain. It's got to be fun. So if I find something to be a bit, hard to navigate a way to explain, that's when my humor has to pick up the slack, and that's when I make the jokes. For example, I made a joke in my Grand Theft Auto 3 video where I said that, obviously the GTA series has built up its reputation over time, and in 2013 they released the second greatest selling game of all time, and then I had to then I used a jokey explanation of Minecraft as being a game about punching trees to sort of get off of that point, to address that it was there, and to get off of the point. And that it's simply an off ramp. It wasn't dismissing Minecraft. It's a fun game if you're 12, or indeed it's a nice downtime game every so often. You remember it exists, you fire it up for a couple of days, and you have a good time. But it is fundamentally a game in which everybody has at least punched a tree. So
but also as well, the focus of your video was to convey information in a format that people can understand and also find enjoyable. And a lot of people will, like, I've had criticisms for videos being too short or too long. Like,
I understand the too short argument, because from a creator perspective, you can benefit from having a video be a certain length as a minimum. But too long, I don't understand, because length of a video, if we look at things from a TikTok brain perspective, you can understand why some people might say a video is too long, but you should tell them to go back to TikTok or Instagram Reels, because YouTube is a little bit more longer form on average than that. I mean, there are shorts, but look, that's just because everyone else is fucking doing it. It's not because YouTube is about YouTube Shorts. They're very useful tools apparently, but I just can't do them.
No, mate, I've tried it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but when it comes to long videos, That's a choice of style. That's a choice of doing things in a collected and manner. It's not about disrespecting the viewer's time. It's purely about showcasing that you want to deliver a more substantial piece of content. You don't need the video to be the bang average 12-minute long, 15-minute long ramble that everyone else is doing. The video is as long as it winds up being. That's just how it is.
Well, with the critics, because most of my videos are about 9 to 15 minutes, somewhere around that sort of mark.
Yeah.
I've got some videos which are like 6 minutes or 7 minutes long, where it's basically, this thing happened today, Rockstar made this announcement, this is what it means. And whenever people criticize that for being too short, I'm like, if I make it any longer,
it's to the point.
Making it longer, I'm waffling. I'll be trying to stretch the video. If I make it just over 8 minutes, then I'm criticized for trying to put in multiple mid-rolls or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then if I do it, but some people have said that some of my videos are too long. Like, I'll talk about one point and it will be like a 15-minute video. But the thing is I have many thoughts on that one point. And my channel isn't Rockstar's Newswire. My channel is my thoughts and opinions on something that's happened and me adding my thing.
Naturally.
So it's one of those things where you can't really win.
Yeah, you can't really win. You've got to sort of like go with it.
So guys, at this point in the podcast, we actually did an outro, but we ended up talking for like another 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the outro, but then keep listening because we keep talking. And at this point, what's the point in trying to cut the podcast down? Hopefully you enjoy. So thank you all so much for watching us waffle for a few hours. We've really enjoyed it. And of course, go and subscribe to FIZHY, obviously. You probably already are if you're here in this video, but go and subscribe.
Who knows?
And
maybe not.
Maybe not. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to, anything you'd like to tell the viewers to do?
You put me on the spot here. Subscribe to, which channel is this going up on? Cyberboy.
Yeah, it's going up on
subscribe to Cyberboy. I wasn't sure if it was going up on your channel, if you had maybe your second channel, if you had a podcast specific channel. Subscribe to Cyberboy, or I will be at your doorstep, and you will not want me at your doorstep.
Big strong boy gonna attack you. Big strong boy.
No, I just smell. But look, the point is, subscribe to Cyberboy, and you won't have any problems. You won't have to worry about smelling me. You'll smell me before you hear me, and you'll hear me before you see me. But by the time you smell me, it's too late.
To you. I say they should subscribe to you because you've taken the time to be here.
I mean, look. In the end of the day, I enjoy having conversations, and I don't get to do it with fellow creators very often. So it's just nice, to be honest, to be able to sit down and be on a podcast that I then don't have to edit. Good luck with that one. I don't envy your job.
Thing is, do you know what's annoying as well? So this is going to come out on Sunday. It's now Friday evening. So tomorrow morning I'm getting up at 6 to film and edit a video, which is coming out tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, blimey.
And tomorrow night I'm editing this. Then obviously I have to watch it back to make sure that it's all squeaky clean.
Godspeed.
Then of course, because it's going to be like 2 hours long, and I'm going to be uploading it in 4K because I'm an animal.
But you use a Mac, don't you? So you should be okay. It should balance out at some point.
Macs are
quite reliable for this sort of stuff.
And then it'll be up on Sunday. It might not be Sunday, or it might be Monday.
That's all right. I mean, I'm not gonna saw off your fingers if it's a bit late, because it'll be when it will be. You know, that's the glory of the unformatted approach that YouTube usually is in a broader sense. It takes as long as it takes.
John makes a good point there.
Doing it.
John makes a great point there. That
who's John? Is that me?
Yeah, you're John. You're John.
Ironically, that is actually my middle name.
Is it?
Yeah. My
middle name is Stephen.
I was going to say Herbert, but I'm.
Oh no, that's my last name. I'm Cyber Stephen Herbertson.
Is it like a double-barreled surname? So it's Herbertson Boy.
Herbertson Boy, yeah, exactly.
So Cyber Stephen Herbertson Boy. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So subscribe to Cyber Stephen Herbertson Boy, or there will be problems. I will go to battle. You will not like me when I go to battle.
I don't call him Herbert the Pervert for no reason. Thank you everyone for watching this absolute shambles diabolical waffle, but
it's fantastic, isn't it?
Do you know what? I actually had loads of points of things for us to discuss, but everything we discussed was way better than any of the points we made.
everything that we could possibly discuss. When I used to do podcasts, we'd have like a list of topics. They go out the window immediately. But it's good to have a pre-written out plan. It makes you confident to start. You write 100%. A plan. You write a false plan because it makes you confident enough to start. And then when the conversation is starting to pick up, and you go, "Oh, that's nice," it goes out the window. It's great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. To be honest, I like that though. I like obviously because Project Vice was supposed to be joining me today to do this podcast, but obviously Australia time differences has been an absolute.
I mean, I'll have to jump on and say hello to him at some point in the future.
Yeah,
if
definitely.
You'll have me. That is.
Yeah, of course. Mate, you're always welcome. So obviously I'm fortunate enough that I've worked with a lot of creators, and since joining YouTube, a lot of creators have reached out, big creators, but consistently you've been one of the creators that's been there. In fact, one of the only creators that's been there to actually for me to relay ideas and thought processes with. And as someone like yourself that's been doing this for so long as a creator, whereas me, I've only come from the editing background, your input and your thought on a lot of things is massively appreciated, because it makes a big difference when I'm trying to navigate I'm committed to YouTube now. This is going to be my career for 5 to 10 years at least, minimum. And I'm now at the point where having you there for us to actually have conversations, like some of the stuff we've discussed tonight and everything we've discussed over the past probably nearly a month, has been very useful for me to take away as a creator. And it also expands my horizons because I'm not going to be making GTA news content forever. I'm slowly branching. No, I'm branching out from that. And also when the game comes out, I want to make more interesting topics. And I feel like knowing that I can, you've given me the confidence that I can transform out of the niche that I've buried myself in.
Oh, it's not easy, but it's not difficult either. It's like I think the word is grit. You just gotta when you've put yourself in a pigeonhole, they're not hard to get out of on YouTube. You just need to give YouTube more data, so that the algorithm knows that you want to move on to something else, and they want to push that to another market. Because in the end of the day, YouTube want people to watch your content. It's not that they don't; they just want people to watch content that
they want to watch.
That naturally they want to watch, so they can get the maximised advertiser profits. Whether that winds up being your content or not is by the by. But in an ideal world, everybody who chooses to upload would get views, but that's just not the world we live in. The point is, if you make content interesting, you frame it in a way that's unique and of quality, eventually you'll find a niche. There is an element of luck as to what niche that will wind up being, because you could do it for a series of topics and maybe only a few will work, but something will work, and that's the point.
Well, the most important thing, and I think it's a good way to actually round this up, is you won't get lucky with content unless you make it first.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to make the thing. If you want to make the thing, do it. And do it. You got.
I mean, the biggest message I get from people now is obviously because I'm still a small creator and I've gone through that first little journey of just getting some traction. People are like, "I want to start a YouTube channel. Any advice?" I'm like, "Yeah, just do it.
Yeah,
start.
Crack on."
That's
the best time to start was yesterday. But yes, if you get going, you can talk yourself out of it. But when you get going, you're like, "Oh, this isn't actually that hard to do. Even if it doesn't get views, it doesn't tax my life too much. And as long as it doesn't get views and it isn't making me money, I can regulate how much I do it to work it around the rest of my life, and I can be creative and enjoy myself. I can also work my usual job and still have time to see my family, and hopefully win the divorce settlement." But the point is, when it starts picking up, you can follow that same ideology and you can sort of apply yourself as much or as little as you want, because it doesn't guarantee stress to do this. If you want to do it, you give it a go. If you have a bit of time, you could come up with something. You just need to know what you want to do. As long as you have a rough idea of what it is you want to create, and you create the content that you want to see, I think your chances of success on the platform are better than they're advertised as.
Yeah.
But of course I would say that because I've been
That's the thing. But that's something else I've experienced. A lot of people will approach me and they'll be like, they think I have some secret formula. Yes, I've been an editor for years, but fundamentally that hasn't helped me when it comes to making good video ideas.
I don't know. Plankton might break in and ask for the secret formula. you just don't know. I mean, to be fair, there is a formula that
there is a formula, but at the end of the day, the formula for obviously you've got the the formula for each niche, and obviously you got the standard Mr. Beast formula for structuring a video and all of that.
There are formulas that work, and there are formulas that I don't think there's a formula that doesn't work. It's just the absence of a formula that fails.
Yeah, like you've got to go into YouTube thinking, like you've got to make YouTube videos as a consumer. You have to watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah. So don't research formulas. Don't research content creation strategies and formulas. Just play it by ear. What do you want to see? How do you want to see it? And you're probably most of the way there at that point, because it isn't a quantifiable entity. It's the content you construct naturally has a formula at the end. Whether or not you intended it to is a different question. But the point is, don't make content that you think that you don't think people will watch, because if that's what if your thought process is I wouldn't watch this video, and you made it, then nobody else is going to watch that video because you wouldn't. That is where you have to make content you want to watch, because then you'll find like-minded people, because you are then framing yourself as a consumer of your own content, and that makes you genuinely proud of your work. And that pride of your work, that genuine, sincere approach to making content that you want to watch, is what will ultimately drive a channel forward. It's little to nothing else, and I have struggled with it in the past. Sometimes I'll make a video that I want to see, and not a lot of people will watch. But like I said on my stream the other day, I don't mind. I quite as long as the video I wanted to make is out there, I don't mind what audience it hits at this point. I can always make another video. It doesn't really matter, but it would be great if people did watch it, because I loved making it. But that's an added extra to having made it for my own purposes, and that is that I would like to consume this content.
Yeah, but make the video that you wish that someone else made.
Exactly, because nobody else is going to do it, because your idea is too unique. And even if they did do it, they couldn't do it like you imagine it. Only you can do it how you imagine it, and even then, it'll probably wind up being vastly different and yet somehow better. And that's what happens when you get started. Things get better, even if you didn't perceive them at this level. It gets better, and that's all you've got to do. And so when I go into a video I want to make, and I think to myself, how's this video gonna in my mind I imagine how it's gonna look. The end product looks nothing like that, because the mind runs away with the moment, and I'm not in those moments yet. I've not started making the video. Once I've started, then things become an assessment of what I've done and what I need to get to. And then I carry that portion and that portion and that portion. And the end result is a video that I'd still watch. But making it was as much a surprise to me as you watching the video will be to you, if that makes sense, as the viewer.
And I think as well, as a viewer watching this now, if you've seen one of my videos or one of FIZHY's videos, that thumbnail title and whole video came from an idea or a question we asked ourselves, or something that we wanted to know the answers to. Also,
another tip that will motivate you beyond belief. You would not believe how effective this is until you do it. Make the thumbnail first.
Yes.
Where at all possible, make the thumbnail first. It will spur you on like you won't believe, because having the thumbnail is the first thing people will see. It's perhaps the most important part of getting people to click on the video, but you making it first will make you want to make the video itself more.
Yeah,
100%. I struggle to function unless I've made the thumbnail first. And if I have to go and shoot, so for example, the car stuff, obviously you got to have the footage to make the thumbnail, but I'll still make that, but long before the video's even finished, so I'll make the thumbnail as early in the process as possible.
Yeah, I mean, how good the video is affects your attention, but whether you get the click in the first place is fully down to the thumbnail and title.
If towards the end of the video, you look at the thumbnail and go, I might change a few bits, doesn't matter. But as long as you make a concept thumbnail first, you've got the idea. You know what you're trying to get across, and that's that. I can't understate the value of that.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Like if I'm in bed and I've got a video idea, the first thing I'll do is sit in my notes section, come up with a title that works, and then when I wake up the next morning, the first thing, or if I have an idea at the time, I'll get out of bed and start making that thumbnail, because it means that when I get up the next day to actually record that video, I know exactly what my video is.
Yeah, and be careful about when you're in bed. Try to let yourself sleep. Look, if you can't remember your idea in the morning, probably wasn't a good
Yeah,
idea.
but you know that my relationship with creating content is very unhealthy.
Oh yeah, same. But that comes with the territory. You've got to control it as
Yeah.
much as you possibly can, though.
I've got no control.
But no, sometimes I'm the same. I get it. Sometimes I'll get out of bed, design the thumbnail.
The other day, you went to bed, like, I remember you messaged me and I was like, what the fuck are you doing still awake?
Busy. I mean, my sleep schedule was a bit lacking anyway. It lags out naturally over time. So it got to a point where it was like I was waking up a bit late in the day. So I went through the entire night and the next day without sleeping. So when I hit the pillow, I was asleep until for 12 hours. I woke up and I was like, this is great. I want to do that more. Sleep this long and go to bed at a reasonable time, wake up at a reasonable time. Not necessarily the all-nighter before, because that genuinely sucks, that bit. But I do my best to try. I don't always succeed, but I do my best to try and keep a healthy sleep pattern. And when I get a healthy sleep pattern, I keep it until something throws it out again. And
see, for me, my sleep pattern is a mess, but I always sleep a lot. Like, I think probably once a week I'll have like 4 hours sleep, which is me just knocking my body clock back.
If you live alone, you get some sleep, and you don't plan on touching grass in the near future, you are fine as long as you sleep.
That's me. I live alone. I mean, some people that saw one of my streams like a month ago, like my whole house is entirely empty other than my bedroom and my office because I live alone, and I wake up and my whole life at the moment, I know it's unhealthy. I'm aware it's unhealthy. People don't need to comment and tell me, but my whole life at the moment revolves around content. But that's not because I'm clinically obsessed with YouTube or anything. I am just loving making videos right now, and
obsessed with getting the job done. It's different.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's good to be obsessed with a little bit of getting the job done. If you love your work, is it really that bad to prioritize it a lot?
It's like I don't watch TV or anything. Like I will, like when I go to bed, I'll watch some YouTube until I fall asleep, and then obviously wake up and I've watched 4 hours of infographics or whatever it is. But
I can't do infographics, but
me neither.
I'll sometimes if I leave YouTube on and fall asleep, I'll wake up and something like that or AI generated physics videos will crop up, and I'll just go, oh god, here we go. Why have I given them watch time in my sleep, no less?
But this is what I find really incredible about like so some people, like I've had people comment on some of my videos like touch grass, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. But at the end of the day, like fundamentally, YouTube isn't paying me a drastic amount at the moment, and I'm posting every single day. I could quite easily now go back to my editing job and earn 5 times more than I'm earning at the moment, but I wouldn't do it because I absolutely love making videos. Like waking up, like having an idea and then writing a script and recording like recording a video.
Knowing you can say fuck it, that's enough when you feel as if you've done what you've done, without somebody saying it needs a bit more or a bit less of X, Y, or Z.
You're giving me anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah, I love the feeling of not having to respond to that though, you know?
Yeah.
It's a great thing if you can balance it, and when you balance when you can balance it, and when you're at that point where you realise that you're doing okay financially and you don't actually have to put an awful lot of work in over the course of a month. You realise this isn't a bad life. This is not the bad life that other creators state. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of everybody's YouTube analytics and CPM, RPM, etc., and their and the consequences of them having a fairly public occupation, but I do know that making content, when you maneuver yourself properly and you really establish yourself in something you actually enjoy, it ain't a bad life at all.
No, it's not. And this is the thing, like even my worst days on YouTube, like when I thought I was going to lose the channel, is still better than my average days as an editor for some of the bigger creators. And by the way, to anyone watching, I'm not throwing shade on any creators I've worked with.
No, but their vision takes priority because it's their vision. You are working on their vision.
That's the thing.
You've got to adhere to it. And as much as you're happy to do that in that role because they're paying, and also because they're good people, it can be difficult when you might think otherwise. Instead of having that disagreement, it's good to be in a position where you don't have that person to conflict with. So
Yes.
I know you like your cameras and stuff, and if ever you fancy jumping on a decade shoot, I'll let you run away with that. Like,
Oh, mate, like, genuinely, I'd love to jump on a decade shoot. At the moment, I don't get to. I mean, obviously, you've seen some of the stuff I've been working on behind the scenes, like some automotive stuff. But any opportunity there is to go out there and just create a nice shot, I'm there.
Oh,
so
no, me too. So what we'll do is we'll do the history of boats.
Yeah, we do the history of boats, and obviously next time you're up in Scotland near me. Next time you're down in Scotland near me.
Down in South Scotland.
Down in South Scotland.
Down in
near
South
me.
Scotland, just a little bit below England.
Yeah, just a little bit below England, but obviously a bit more north of Land's End.
Of Land's End in South Wales.
Yeah, exactly, in South Wales. No, that's actually that's in South Kent.
South Kent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're in the West Ridings of Shropshire. What a journey!
I love the do you know the seaside town of Birmingham. Is honestly it's the most beautiful place I've ever had the pleasure of visiting.
The seaside town of Birmingham. Yes, twinned with the mountainous region of Luton. Very nice.
Yeah, actually, that's, to be fair, Luton's often compared to Monaco.
And between them, you have the historic town of Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes
on
Keynes on the water.
No, the joke was historic.
I'm sure there's loads of history underneath Milton Keynes.
Yeah, underneath. For context, people who don't know, Milton Keynes was established in the 1960s. Okay, it doesn't have much history for itself.
No, there might be some Romans buried under it, but that's about it.
Yeah, probably, but that's all right. They prefer the shopping centres anyway. I mean, it's probably not a bad place to actually be. It's just a bit characterless.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's a bit like Luton, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, Luton's been around for longer than Milton Keynes.
Yeah, but it's also very characterless.
I mean that football stadium is. I mean, it's really embedded in the town. I mean, it's it's pretty cool when you think. Did
you see Max Fosh, that YouTuber that put a sign up outside? I think it was Heathrow. He basically rented a field and he got loads of white sheets of like tarpaulin, and he wrote out a sign that said "Welcome to Luton."
So I haven't seen that. No.
Oh, yeah. His name's Max Fosh. Check his video out. It's so fucking funny.
I haven't seen that. I'm not a massive consumer of YouTube these days, which is probably to my detriment. I need to get back into it and find some more channels that I enjoy.
But the thing is, as well, like, a lot of people say to me, like, what channels do I watch? I literally don't watch anything to do with Grand Theft Auto. I watch your videos because yours aren't about news or anything like that. You actually.
It's not about news because you've already relayed that.
Yeah.
I can see the appeal of it. I mean, what I do is very much so, instead of like covering the news, which would do my head in, because the moment the news is a day old, you've missed your opportunity to really dip in.
My videos die a death after a day.
Yeah, but what I like to do is I want to get like the mysteries, the broader mysteries covered, and obviously in all of the games, and I'll go back to them over time as well and do different mysteries in those games, even after 6 releases, I'm sure. Because if there's something that I can make an enjoyable bit of content out of that I want to do, I'm going to do it. At the moment, I'm actually working on one. Yesterday on the stream, somebody asked if there was any more Red Dead videos coming, and I thought at that time, no, there wasn't. But then an idea occurred to me today, and I was like, but there is. So I lied, apparently.
But this is the thing as well. People ask me, am I going to do a video about this thing? And in the moment, the answer is always going to be probably not. But like that very evening or the second they say it, that probably plants a seed that, oh, actually.
Yeah, it's like people want this. I'm going to think of something. And then it took me no time at all to jump on an idea that I was like, of course. Yeah. Why haven't I done that yet?
Oh, question for you. Are you... Yeah. I'm a bullet pointer. Are you a scripter or a bullet pointer?
Bullet pointer 110%. I can't do a script because I keep riffing off of it.
Yep, same. I can't do.
A script is a wasted venture.
But also as well, like every time
if you want to make something airtight, I'll script that portion, but I'll bullet point most of it. What do
when
I
it
want to
comes
talk
to
about? Tick it
the only
off.
thing that I script is when I quote someone. It's the exact quote, obviously, just for legal reasons.
It beats paraphrasing and, you know, conflating meanings. So I understand that.
Yeah. No, I think the biggest thing for me is bullet points, because at the end of the day as well, like when I'm recording, when I'm reading back my bullet point, I will think of another thing to go alongside that complements that point. So I'm like, hang on, I've got this idea. Here's my wireframe for my video, but I need to now actually fiberglass that wireframe with context, information, additional points, and link it in, and then of course like inject that with some personality, some humor, some ideas, some concepts. The only thing that roughly stays the same is how I intro a topic and my conclusion to the video. Everything in between is fucking
it's good to
guess.
write out your intro, because starting the video is the hardest bit.
And that's the bit that's arguably most important.
The meat in the middle, it doesn't matter. It's good to make it good, but it isn't as important as starting. And it's also easier to carry on from. It's easier to make good. The start, you need to land well, and the middle needs to flow fairly well. But that's easy because you're already leading into it. And the end, obviously, nobody actually sticks around for that bit. I am sorry to break it to everybody, but only so many people are going to be watching that. For every 1,000 people, maybe 10 people are still watching by that point. Maybe sometimes more, maybe sometimes less. And that's not a loyalty thing. When you say, right, and that's the end of today's video, and then you go into your thanks for watching bit, people will probably pause the video there. If they like the video, they might like it, they might subscribe, they might jump to the comments section, but usually they'll pause the video there, look for a new video to watch. And that's how things go. And that's fine.
This is a conversation I have with sponsors, because they always say, like, obviously I have a sponsor segment, and they're like, at the end of the video, can you mention the sponsorship? And I'm like, no, because it just damages engagement.
The best place for a sponsorship, if you're going to pick them up, is sort of around the middle.
Yep, that's what I did.
Or the first third,
bang in the middle.
Not right after the intro. That would absolutely make the intro far too long, apparently. I've done it a few times, and people just don't like it, and I can understand why. And these days, I don't really pick up many sponsors. If something came along, then I was like, that is too good to say no to, and it's genuinely something that I would like to promote, I'd probably say yeah to that. But those opportunities are once in a blue moon for me, and I'm okay with that. So
I think I'm very, very fortunate in the fact that, like, the first company to reach out to me was a company about being private on the internet, and I was like, this is perfect. I literally don't show my face or name, so that works.
That leads me on to a bit of a question before we wrap up, actually. What platform do you game on?
At the moment, the PS4 Pro, because I had a PS5 for about 30 seconds. So in December, I did my first channel giveaway, which, by the way, I do not recommend to any YouTubers watching. People will subscribe for the console, not because they like you. So I did my first giveaway, which is a PlayStation 5.
It's all a learning curve, though.
Yeah, it was a learning curve. A very expensive one. But so did a competition, someone subscribed, so I ordered the PlayStation, got it delivered to them. And I've recently, I'm not sure if I can announce this yet, but yeah, like, this is something else about, like, a lot of people, I will say this to my viewers now, you will see a lot of sponsorships coming on the channel, because I am in a position now where I can give value to brands. You guys can get value from brands. I'm giving, in my Discord, I have a whole tab for discounts, where people are getting discounts on services. And some of this, I've noticed a lot of people said they already use that service and they've cancelled their subscriptions and reactivated them with the discounts. So that's pretty sick. Result. But also as well, it's like, it's cool because obviously I'm not, like, being fully selfish here. It allows me to actually have more of an income so I can spend more time making videos. Yeah. And obviously in the future, I will take less sponsorships, but the companies that are now talking to me, that are supporting me as a small channel, I will always want to work with them as long as nothing drastic changes. But they're the people that really put their money where their mouth is when I needed it the most. And it's the same for, like, my members now. Like, I have an export of my first 10 members and my first 20 members that supported me on YouTube, because those people to me will always be god tier, like
god tier individuals.
Yeah, exactly. Like, giving me the support when I needed it the most is, like, so, it means more to me than I can explain in an ad segment. Like when you see me doing an ad segment for a brand, I haven't accepted it because I have to. I accepted it because 1, I like the product. 2, I think the audience will get value. 3, they want to work with me. And as a small creator with only 16,000 subs, it's rare. So
yeah,
you know,
it's yeah. I mean, getting good brand deals isn't a given until you're at a really, really high point.
Well, like all of the brands that are working with me now, I'm the smallest creator by tenfold.
Yeah, it's probably because of skill. It's a skill thing. You are good enough for them to contact. Because YouTube's a learning curve for a lot of creators. It's the publishing aspect may be for you, but the actual production of the content is not.
Yeah,
you're still learning. You'll always be learning, but you've learned enough to probably produce television, let alone internet content to be consumed by people.
Do you know what's really annoying? What really pisses me off? This is why I really want to do a decades video review, because on YouTube, I'm not able to, with the content I make, I'm not able to show how well I can do production value, just because the nature of the content, horses for courses. But it's just like, I'll put a video together, and yes, it's a great Grand Theft Auto news video, but it's not a good cinematic piece which I know I can create. So it's a bit like, damn, I'm proud of the video, but
so get a gaming PC, get a free cam mod in like GTA and have some fun. You can make some stuff. Everybody, if you're still here, you've made Cyberboy a whack of money, and I can tell you that his real name is